So, a very, very, very good evening to all of you and welcome to the class today. This is third class on the topic deduction, collection, and recovery of tax. And I hope you have revised all the concepts up till now. So, we have covered TDS, all concepts except where PAN is not required, and online gaming. So, before we proceed, I request everyone to please settle down and ask if there is any doubt, and then we can proceed. We'll begin with online gaming. And we have a lot to cover, guys, today. So trust me, we need to fuck up also. So I hope everyone is settled now. Let's start. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Prerna, Viraj, Shailesh, Amrita, Sankara. Very good evening to all of you. Doubt nahi hai? Shankara, 15G is not yet discussed. So once we discuss 15G, then you can ask the doubt on this, okay? Just park it for that much time. Okay. So, winning from online games, this is a very important topic because this is one such amendment which came in this year, as in through Finance Act 2023. And it was expected that something like this would come, and then corresponding amendments came in GST also. Not corresponding, but a lot of amendments came in GST also. So, we are not discussing from the GST perspective, obviously. We'll be discussing from purely income tax perspective and how much important this topic is. But before I go to this section of TDS, there are three main sections and rules which would be covered. One is obviously which talks about taxability of online winnings from online games and why there was a need of this section. I'll let you know. So there is one section which is introduced for its taxability, where a person who is earning such income has to tax this income as per this section. Then there is another section which was introduced along with online gaming taxability was section 194 DA, which is basically for the tax deductibility at source. So as in the platform on which you're playing or the intermediary has to deduct the tax. And then there was later on a rule which was prescribed, obviously, to explain how the things have to be calculated. So every section is followed then by rule. So this is how this entire online gaming things work. But before we go to this, we have to understand what is online gaming and why there was this need of a section. I think in the past couple of years, through ads, through whatnot, we have seen, and especially post COVID, so online culture has spread its root across all platforms. I'm not just talking about games. You think of it and people are earning through online mode. One such example was YouTubers and influencers, which we saw, which was covered under section 194R, which came a couple of years back. Then 194 BA is for online gaming. I think we all have noticed this trend that be it ads of Dream 11, be it ads for some Rummy Circle, be it ads through TVs or through hoardings and whatnot. And I have seen almost 5 out of 10 people involved in some or the other online game, be it through Ludo, be it through anything, right? It's a mode of entertainment for a lot of people than a mode of earning. It's also a mode of earning for a lot of people. So there is a mixed form of entertainment, luck, and earning factor involved in online games. And hence there was a desperate need to have a different section because abhi tak we or all of us did not have that much clarity of what should be the income actually from it, whether it's the amount which you are getting as credit in your account, whether it's an amount per game which you're winning after the amount you deposit, whether it is net of losses. So there was a deliberate move by the government to give a major clarity on this, and that's why separate section was introduced. Any winnings from online games technically, I'm not saying was never taxed at all. As per law, it was always taxed as per section 194B. But since there was no clarity, many people did not used to offer such income. For example, if I also remember, I may have also not offered a small amount of rupees 10 winning from any online platform, because though it's an income, though it's a winning, it should be taxed at 30%. But there was again a misconception of a lot of things, and I'll say less clarity on a lot of things. So that's why government introduced section 194BA. How many of you have been actually on a platform which is an online game? And don't think that online game is all about betting. Online games can extend to any extent. For example, people have proper online gaming battles where they win a prize professionally or casually. It does not matter whether you're winning just like that or whether you're winning through a proper training, or then there is betting. Obviously there is wagering, there is gambling, there is fantasy sports, there is education based games. Anything which is coming as a winning and is from online mode is winning from online games. So internet, as in a person is using an internet as a platform and a device or a computer or a telecommunication device through which he is getting that winning, that would get qualified here. I'm trying to explain in a very layman language because this is also first time for me to explain and also first time for you to learn. But coming to the point, how many of you have been actually on a gaming platform where you have win something or have withdrawn something? Okay, oh, that's such a nice answer. We don't have time to play online game because we are CA final students. Very good. This was the answer I was looking for. But yeah, so if you ever go to any app, basic thing which I understand from game is you need to deposit some money, then you play a bet or you play a game, or you in Dream 11 basically you develop a team as in, and then if you are in the top scorer, you get an amount back. Okay. So suppose if I've given 100 rupees, let's talk about in a very layman thing. I gave 100 rupees, I won, the game was over, and the final amount which was credited back was say 150 rupees. So my winning is not 150, guys. I gave 100. So my technically my winning is 50 rupees. My winning is 50 rupees. So the major clarity anyone has to have it here is that what is taxable here, the amount which gets taxable in my 194BA is net winnings. No one will tax it on your balance solely or on your credit amount solely. The aim of any question which comes from online gaming is to calculate net winnings. So as I gave an example of giving 100 and getting 150 back, 150 is not my winning, 50 is my winning. So technically the tax should be on it. So as I told, coming back to now the concepts, as you know, Finance Bill 2023 introduced this section 194BA and corresponding income charging section 115BBJ. BBJ. So the question which we look into for all type of sections are these 5 points. Who would be the deductor? So deductor can be any person. Deductor can be any person who is responsible for paying that income. Responsible for paying that income means ultimately from whom that income would be generated and would be paid. That person would be your deductor. Who would be the deductee? Deductee can be a resident, can be a non-resident. Deductee can be a resident or can be a non-resident. Sorry. Here, any person, say, I mean, who is responsible for paying that income can also be an intermediary. What do you mean by intermediary? Take it as an aggregator, a platform where multiple games are played, where multiple games are played. Deductee can be a any person resident or non-resident. TDS rate, guys, the taxability rate is also 30% and the TDS rate is also 30% of net winnings. I have not written about the amount withdrawn of net winnings. Threshold and time of deduction. These are now the two questions which are left. The threshold, guys, there is no threshold limit technically, but I'll let you know one relief a government has given through rules and circulars. So, threshold technically there is no threshold limit. Now, what is important is the time of deduction. When does a person have to deduct the tax? Now, you can think if maybe just in person as in the online gaming platform like Dream 11. Let's say Dream 11 in this case. Okay. Now, when will they deduct tax? Will they deduct tax? Ask yourself questions. Okay. Will they deduct tax at the time I win? Or will they deduct tax at the time I withdraw? Or will they deduct tax at the end of the year if I don't withdraw at all? Because वहाँ पे option होता है. You create an account there, you deposit that money, your own money into that account. Listen and see here, please. You deposit that money in that account, then you get some winning, which is getting accumulated in that account, and then you withdraw something. Then you withdraw something. So an account is created. It's not directly linked to any of your bank. An account is created on that platform in which you deposit the money. So you are a user who deposits the money in this account, which is there on the online gaming platform or online gaming intermediary. Okay? Then you win something. So the balance gets accumulated and then you withdraw. Or maybe you don't withdraw. And then that withdrawal goes into user's actual bank account. And he has to give or she has to give their PAN details, etc. so that the requisite TDS can be done. Earlier, there was no such thing of PAN. Whenever withdrawal was there, yes, PAN was there. But now, whenever I'll register or make any account, they will ask for PAN. So since there is no threshold limit, any winning during the year would be taxed at the rate of 10%. So now the question comes to time of deduction. So guys, there can be 3 stages where TDS would be deducted. So time ke liye, you can write like this. I've tried to simplify it as much as I can. Okay. So time of deduction would be if suppose I did not withdraw anything. I did not withdraw anything. No amount was withdrawn. So then the TDS would be deducted at the end of the year. That is on the end of the financial year. That is on 31st March. That would be the time of deduction. Okay? Because ultimately, we cannot say that withdrawal is related to income. मैंने वो पैसा उस account से नहीं निकाला, that does not mean that I did not earn anything during the year. Okay? That does not mean that I did not earn anything during the year. So when no amount is withdrawn at the end of the financial year, then obviously there can be a case of first time withdrawal or complete withdrawal. जितना भी पैसा था सारा निकाल लिया. So at the time of withdrawal, okay, and next can be partial withdrawal. Like सारा नहीं निकाला, maybe I withdraw some amount rupees from this part. So तब किस अमाउंट पे टैक्स होगा? अगर पार्शियल विड्रॉल हुआ है, सपोज वील टेक एग्जांपल्स आल्सो. सारा का सारा पैसा नहीं निकाला, पार्शियल विड्रॉल निकाला. तो यहाँ पे देयर वुड बी 2 stages of taxation. One stage would be when an amount is withdrawn and some amount which is left that would be taxed at end of the financial year, obviously. So there would be 2 types of taxation here. So suppose in the first case, I वेरी सिंपल सिचुएशन लेती हूँ. आई डिपॉजिटेड, पे 10,000 rupees and win 1 lakh. As in, the final amount which was added as final winning was 1 lakh. यहाँ पे जो भी अमाउंट विन होता है ना, वो आपके पैसे की बात होता है. नेट विनिंग्स कितनी हुई? आई गेव 10, आई गॉट 1 लाख. नेट विनिंग कितनी हुई? 90,000. अब इट कैन हैपन दैट आई डिड नॉट विड्रॉ 90,000 एट ऑल. So then I did not withdraw 1 lakh at all, I can say, because balance ultimately 1 lakh is accounted. So then in that case, 90,000 पे at the end of the financial year 30% टैक्स लग जाएगा. ओके. एंड फिर वो नेट अमाउंट एलिजिबल टू विड्रॉ कितना हो जाएगा? 90,000 माइनस 30%, 63,000. ठीक है. और इट कैन हैपन कि जैसे ही 1 लाख क्रेडिट हो, आई आई चूज टू विड्रॉ. ठीक है. आई डिपॉजिटेड 10,000. I won 1 lakh. So the net winnings are again of 90,000. Situation is same. Now at this situation, what would be happening? On this 90,000, when I'll be going to withdraw, the amount actually credited would be 63,000. Okay. And in this case, suppose I won 10,000 and then I withdraw 1 lakh, which was my net winning. Sorry, I deposited 10,000, I got 1 lakh. Suppose 50,000 I withdraw first stage पे, and उसके बाद कुछ नहीं withdraw किया. So tax would be 1 would be calculated here and 2 would be calculated at the end of the financial. I'm not writing the amount here because that is deep into the rule how you deal with partial withdrawals. Okay. So this is how the entire time of deduction is spread out. But remember, net winnings has to be calculated. Amount withdrawn पे tax नहीं लगेगा, net winnings पे लगेगा. Withdrawal can be one of the trigger to tax, but it is not the amount, withdrawal amount on which you pay tax. Got it? So ये जो basic, very basic चीज, user आपको समझ आ गया? Who would be the user, guys? Any person who is playing the online game through any computer or a telephone resource. ठीक है. यूजर का अकाउंट भी समझ आ गया, एन अकाउंट विच इज देयर ऑन द इंटरमीडियरी प्लेटफॉर्म. क्लियर? देन द मनी विच ही डिपॉजिट्स, दैट डिपॉजिट गाइस आर कॉल्ड एज नॉन टैक्सेबल डिपॉजिट्स, क्योंकि वो उसके खुद के पैसे. दैट इज द मनी विच ही हैज अर्न्ड एंड डिपॉजिटेड. द मनी विच ही डिपॉजिट्स आर कॉल्ड नॉन टैक्सेबल डिपॉजिट्स. ओके. एंड द मनी विच ही विन्स और द मनी विच आर देयर as cashbacks if eligible to withdraw, that is taxable deposits. बाकी इंटरनेट क्या होता है, ऑनलाइन गेम क्या होता है, उसकी डेफिनेशन में आई एम नॉट गोइंग ऑन. अभी तक मोटा माटी डिड यू अंडरस्टैंड द फ्रेमवर्क ऑफ व्हाट इज ऑनलाइन गेमिंग and what are the stages at which it is stacked? The rule will tell me how I have to calculate the taxable amount, which we will see. GST would never be included, guys, in calculating the tax liability. प्रोफेशनली हो, कैजुअली हो, कोई भी इंटेंट हो आपका ऑनलाइन गेम खेलने का, इट द विनिंग्स ऑफ इट वुड बी टैक्सेबल. एक बारी फटाफट से सी. आई डोंट वांट टू रश एट ऑल दिस थिंग बिकॉज इट इज एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट. Mancha, exactly right. Online and offline games both are income from other sources. See, anything which you're earning during the year is income. Even gifts are also income, correct? So, income from other sources, but TDS provision now at the hands of deductor from Finance Act 2023 are different. Earlier, both online and offline were taxed under Section 194B, as in were tax deductible under Section 194B. Now, offline के लिए 194B and online के लिए 194B है, correct? मुनीश अभी सारे एग्जाम्पल करेंगे एंड यू विल अंडरस्टैंड. यू आर नॉट विड्रॉइंग, यू आर यूटिलाइजिंग इट फॉर मोर एंड मोर. तो आप देखोगे कि एक तरीके से नेट एलिमेंट इज गेटिंग टैक्स, which is net of winnings and net of loss. When we'll see how the amount is calculated, then you will see. Wherever 194B or 194BA or wherever throughout the act non-resident is taxed, you have to increase that amount by education cess, as in health and education cess, and by your surcharge if applicable. Chalo guys. मजा आ रहा है because this is actually I am trying my best case हम section को कितना easily समझ सकते हो. Yes. चलो. So first of all, let's assume a person has made a first withdrawal during the financial year. First withdrawal during the financial year. Figures लेते हैं. खुद से सोचना कि winnings कैसे निकालोगे. Then you will automatically come to the formula. Okay. First withdrawal है partial subsequent rogated. Guys, मेरे अकाउंट में ऑलरेडी पिछले साल से एज इन प्रीवियस ईयर से देयर वाज अ बैलेंस. ऐसा नहीं है दैट आई हैव ओपन द अकाउंट फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम. प्रीवियस ईयर से देयर वाज ऑलरेडी अ बैलेंस एंड आई विल टेक वेरी स्मॉल फिगर्स. 5000 was balance. Okay, already in my account. I deposited 10,000 more. Okay, and I withdraw 13,000. This is opening balance. This is amount deposited by me, and I withdraw 13,000. तो विनिंग है. कोई विनिंग है गाइस. विनिंग है. यस, अगर है तो कितने की है. फॉरगेट अबाउट व्हाट इज रिटन ऑन द बॉक्स. अगर बॉक्स देख लिया यू विल बी कंफ्यूज्ड थ्रू आउट. इज देयर एनी विनिंग. इज देयर एनी विनिंग. सोचो सोचो गाइस. The more fast you'll respond, the more fast we'll finish the topic. Correct, Munish. No, there is no winning ना. खुद से सोचो ना. मेरे पास there was already an amount. Then I gave more amount, but I am getting less in return of it, so there is no winning. Winning, obviously. If this amount withdrawn would have been 18,000, what you would have said is my winning 18,000, is my winning 10,000 or any other amount. So you'll obviously say, जैसे हम guys जैसे gross profit निकालते हैं ट्रेडिंग में. हाउ डू वी कैलकुलेट ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट व्हेन यू कम टू ट्रेडिंग. ऐसे होता है ना. ओपनिंग प्लस सेल्स को तो यू नेवर ट्रीट एज योर इनकम. ठीक है. ओपनिंग प्लस परचेज मतलब ओपनिंग में कितना परचेज ऐड किया माइनस क्लोजिंग बैलेंस सेल्स. ऐसे करते हैं ना. वही करना है. सिंपल. आई देयर वाज 5,000, देन आई एडेड 10,000. I got 18,000 in return. That means my winning here is 3,000. My winning here is 3,000. यहाँ पे भी सेम किया. अमाउंट अब वो इट कैन बी वॉट एवर. सपोज आई won किसी गेम में some amount, then I reapplied it, then I won, then I reapplied it. Act says it does not matter to us. User account में there would be only stage of withdrawal would be either at the end of the financial year or at the time of withdrawal. Simple. The user account may, the stage of transaction will be, the stage of tax deductibility would be whenever an amount is withdrawn or at the end of the financial year or at the end of the financial year. Up whether you won in some game, you lost in another game, that is just for your confusion. You don't have to see that amounts. You just have to see the balances and the amount withdrawn and the amount deposited. That's it. ठीक है? So अब मैंने कोई फॉर्मूला नहीं बताया. It is you yourself who calculated what is the income and what is the gain. Right? So अब बस अब यहाँ पे अगर मैं सीधा ये पढ़ाऊं तो you would have been confused. Amount withdrawn minus opening balance minus amount deposited during the year. ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट मन में रखो, कीप इट इन योर माइंड द ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट, फिर सिंपली गेट इट. कुछ है ही नहीं. ठीक है, सिंपल. This you guys yourself solved it. I don't think so. You need me. Okay. If the sum amount of B and C is equal or greater, then net earnings would be considered to be zero. The case first, which we took. Easy. Easy peasy. Now, subsequent withdrawal. There is subsequent withdrawal. Subsequent withdrawal मतलब अब जब स्टेज 1 विड्रॉल हुआ, दैट वाज क्लियर. अब स्टेज 2 विड्रॉल हो रहा है. नाउ अगेन सेल्फ कैलकुलेट द इनकम. ओपनिंग बैलेंस 5,000, 10,000 deposited by me. First withdrawal, which is now already taxed, 18,000 पे already taxed हो गया. Okay. 18,000 already taxed. ठीक है. Now second withdrawal is of 11,000. What is the taxability at the time of second withdrawal? As in, what is the net winnings at the time of second withdrawal? What is the net winning at the time of second withdrawal? एक बारी खुद के अप्रोच से निकालो, then I will tell कि what is the net winning at the time of second withdrawal. अब think ना, किसी के अकाउंट में और सिर्फ 15,000 थे, he is withdrawing so much, that means the difference is the profits, the difference is the winning because of which he is able to withdraw. That is what I have to find out. That is what I have to find out. Okay, someone is saying 11,000. Okay, very good, very good. Good attempt, good attempt. करो करो, शाबाश शाबाश शाबाश. मेरा आंसर क्यों नहीं मैच हो रहा आप लोगों से? Second, so everyone is giving 11. Oh God, screen got freezed. Sorry. So, how did this 11,000 came? So, aggregate amount withdrawn from user account during the financial year till the time of subsequent withdrawal. सो यानी फर्स्ट एंड सब्सिक्वेंट दोनों विड्रॉल आपने ऐड करे 13,000. कितने मैच हो रहा है guys? तो टोटल विड्रॉल कितने का हो गया 18 प्लस 11 ठीक है माइनस ओपनिंग बैलेंस गैस कितना है मेरा एट द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर 5,000 माइनस डिपॉजिटेड विच आई मेड minus 18,000 which is already taxed earlier. तो इससे तो -4 आ रहा है guys. So my net winnings here are coming to be negative. अच्छा यहाँ पे मेरी स्क्रीन फ्रीज हो गई सॉरी 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 टेक्निकली तो 11 आना चाहिए ना अरे my screen has got freezed यार 1 second guys sorry am I mine writing is visible or not okay sorry guys technically यहाँ पे गड़बड़ हुई है हम्म, sorry guys just 1 second let me just unshare it and then stop share हो गया ना just 1 second हम्म सॉरी ठीक है अब ठीक है ना गाइस सो सॉरी सॉरी इसे नेट विनिंग्स लिखा हुआ है फॉर्मूला में इसे प्लीज मेरी स्टुपिडिटी मत करना आई हैव मेड इट नेट विड्रॉल अगेन a mistake to learn so this would come to your 11,000 so 11,000 is the amount which is taxable ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस में मत चलना कि जो अब विड्रॉ है दैट इज द विनिंग यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट इट कैसे किया टोटल मेरा हाउ मच अमाउंट आई डिपॉजिटेड फ्रॉम माई पॉकेट 5,000 10,000 एक्स्ट्रा विनिंग कितना ऐड हुआ उसमें 3,000 18,000 विड्रॉन वन टाइम अब 11,000 हुआ तो नेट टैक्सेबिलिटी कितनी आई जस्ट अगेन एग्जैक्टली ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट करके यू कैन डू इट सॉर्टेड now suppose the person has made withdrawals also has made certain things which you say has deposited also now what would be the taxability if there is still balance there at the end of the year that means he has not withdrawn the entire amount and made his account khali there is still balance at the end of the year so how would you tax it balance pay no again we'll go by the same thing सेम क्वेश्चन चलते हैं. ओपनिंग बैलेंस was 5,000. Added 10, added amount 10,000. First withdrawal, first withdrawal 18,000. Second withdrawal 11,000. Subsequent deposit, again I deposited 5,000. Now, or say 5,000, make it 6,000. Now, what is the amount on which I have to tax the net winnings at the end of the financial year? Because this is clear that whenever we are going for online gamings, the balance, as in the winnings of each year, have to be calculated and it has to be closed then and there. As in, up, whatever goes forward as a balance, but taxability is on the winnings. Taxability is on the winnings. Subsequent deposit 6,000. So, first of all, in case one, we learned how to calculate the winnings at the time of first withdrawal, which is easy peasy. कितना पैसा था plus डाला and कितना निकाला, net amount is winnings. How much was there, how much we put in, how much we withdraw, net amount is winning. Second withdrawal में we have to do the first step first. In the sense कि we have to calculate the net winnings of all the earlier withdrawals. Otherwise, we would not be able to calculate it. Okay, so we have to do the net winnings of all the earlier withdrawals. Now, last case may there is a balance obviously there, but what amount is the net winning which has to be tax subsequent deposit अभी हटा ही देते हैं. Let me give you this as my closing balance. Subsequent deposit से थोड़ा confusion हो जाएगा. This is my closing balance, which is 6,000. Now you have to tell me what is the net winning which has to be taxed at the end of the financial year. I had 5,000. I got 10,000 more. I added 10,000, $15,000. But something I want, जिसमें से I withdraw 18,000, then I withdraw 11,000, and then there is still balance of 6,000. What is the net winnings? ड्रॉन को लो सेल्स की तरह एकदम वैसे एग्जैक्ट चकाचक क्लियर हो जाएगा गाइस. 18 plus 11, closing balance is still there 6. I deposited hardly 5,000 rupees and 10,000 rupees, जिसमें से ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट पहले वाला जो टैक्स हो गया कितना हुआ है, 3,000 one time and 11,000 one time. So what is the final amount? Naturally 6,000, because every stage pay you are making the withdrawals and they are getting taxed. Until and unless you will deposit something extra amount, you can conclude, but I will again say go by the double checking. Until and unless you deposit some extra amount, you can say that in a way that until unless you deposit some extra amount, again I'm saying, any subsequent withdrawal would be equal to winning, obviously, or any closing balance would be equal to winning. अगर second withdrawal and closing balance में something would have been deposited, the net winning would have been changed. Makes sense also, no? 7,000 कैसा है मंशा? 6,000 आएगा ना? taxed 3,000, then I taxed 11,000. 18 plus 11, that is my amounts which are withdrawn, plus 6,000, which is the balance there to be, if which is at the end of the financial year. But that is a result of only depositing 5,000 and 10,000. ठीक है, so इसमें से total winning आ गई. Total winning में से already 3,000 and 11,000 has been taxed earlier. So net winning which is left to be taxed is 6,000. It's just like sale amount which is equal to withdrawn amount, purchase amount को आप deposit amount की तरह लो, and you will get all the answer. What is taxed earlier cannot be taxed again. How, Sankara? How is it coming 17? ये मैंने closing balance डाला है. In case you missed it, I did not make it the subsequent deposit. नम्रता के अलावा किसी का 6 नहीं आया गाइस? मुनीश, विराज, आर यू देयर? देखो इस स्टेज तक तो गाइस withdrawals plus closing balance and net of deposit and opening balance करके comes my total profit for the year, if you want to take it like that, minus the amount of profits which have been already taxed earlier. So the profit which is left to be taxed at this particular stage is what it is. एक बार मैं अपनी भी कैलकुलेशन डबल चेक कर लेती हूँ अगर कोई और कंफ्यूजन है तो. 11 ही था ना अर्लियर टैक्स विनिंग्स, करेक्ट? 18 plus 11 plus 6 minus 5 minus 10 minus 3 and minus 11 also, na Shankara? Subs there is also one more withdrawal, na, which is my subsequent withdrawal. Good. ठीक है. So कहीं पे भी I don't think so. No matter what type of question comes now, you just have to go on the winnings, on the focus on calculating net winnings, and your focal points would be only to see what are the deposits, what are the balances, and what were the withdrawals. To come at this stage of your final taxability of the year. So suppose there has been no withdrawals during the year, then it is very simple. Okay, you only have to tax directly at the final year amount. Then it is very simple. Stages comes when there are withdrawals during the year also, and then there is some balance also left. Whatever are the subsequent withdrawals, you have to calculate the gains on them before. Okay, got it? अब मैं इसको बुकिश लैंग्वेज में पढ़ाती तो ना मुझे समझ आता ना आपको. I hope it is clear. Sure. Chalo, great. Now, this next stage, which you might be understanding, कि ma'am, sometimes what happens is that we add 100, but we get 120. Like, which you can say that there is an element of bonus, or there can be an element of cashback, or there can be an element of referral bonus, promotional money, anything. By whatever name you want to call, you can call it. Coins, extra coins, जो भी, joining bonus, whatever is there. whatever is there, that is called my, अब उसकी पार्ट उसको हम कहेंगे bonuses या reference, whatever you want to call. So basically something which you're not depositing from your pocket here, but it is coming from some other way. Whatever user deposit, that is called as non-taxable deposit, which I told you. But whatever gets credited in the account through ways like cashback, referral bonus, voucher, joining bonus, etc., guys, that is called taxable deposit if it is available for withdrawal. If it is eligible to withdraw. दो सिचुएशन हो सकती है ना. Sometimes these bonuses are just allowed to play games but are not eligible for withdrawal. But are not eligible for withdrawal. Most of the cases where they are eligible for withdrawal, but there can be two situations. If they are eligible for withdrawal, matlab they can be recharacterized as taxable deposits, then it's just like any winning, right? So you have to add it as tax. You have to consider it as taxable deposits. अभी मैं वर्ड इसलिए बोल रही हूँ कि टेक्निकली क्वेश्चन में वट एवर कम्स यू हैव टू सी included, to be included in closing balance, or you can include it in the balance of the year, include it in the balance of the user, and consider it for winning. It would be part of my net winnings. Ultimately, you see, it will be considered as net winnings. Included in the closing balance easily. Okay? If it is not eligible for withdrawal, only for solely for playing purpose, solely for playing only, उसको आप withdraw नहीं कर सकते, then not to be considered. कहीं पे भी कुछ consider नहीं करना. Okay? Got it? क्या होता है? A person can has multiple wallets or multiple user or wallets नहीं बोलूंगी मैं, मल्टीपल अकाउंट्स हो सकते हैं. दिस इज गिवन हियर ऑल्सो. ठीक है. A person can have multiple user accounts. अब multiple user accounts if are on the same platform under the same intermediary. अब intermediary में क्या होता है, एक गेम के लिए maybe has developed different user account, second game के लिए maybe have developed different user account. So all of them has to be considered in total to calculate the income. As in all accounts together have to be considered in total to calculate the income. And any amount withdrawn from one account to another, which is on the same platform, same intermediary, would not be considered as withdrawal. Obviously, ना वो अगर मैं सबको एक साथ consider कर ही रही हूँ winning के लिए, so any inter transaction would not be considered as withdrawal. What happened, guys? This is something like which CBDT addressed on the questions asked by the stakeholders. Sometimes the winnings are very insignificant, like 100 rupee ka winning hai. Agar 100 rupee ka winning hai, then what has to happen? So they said that there would be no TDS if net winning, I'm not talking about withdrawal, if net winning in the amount withdrawn, we are not taxing it at the time of withdrawn, is less than 100 in a month. Okay. It's written here also, net winning comprised in the amount withdrawn does not exceed 100 in a month. And along with that, agar suppose tax has not been, no tax you would deduct it. When you will not deduct it? When the net winnings are less than 100 in a month. अब ऐसा नहीं है कि suppose you have withdrawn it one time, then you withdraw it again. First time you withdraw, it was 60 rupees. Then you withdraw again, the net winning was coming to 50 rupees. Then it crosses that limit. Okay. I'm talking about when the net winnings is less than 100 in a month. And you make a promise that whenever the winnings next times are more than 100, be it in the same month, be in the next month, be it whatever, or at the end of the financial year, you promise that whenever the net winnings are more than 100 and you will tax it. So you will consider this winning also to tax. You will consider this winning also to tax. As a deductor, you have to promise it. And if the balance is less than, uh, if the balance is not there sufficient to recover the amount, then the deductor takes the responsibility that he will pay it from his pocket. So as in 100 पे जो नहीं TDS कटा, that is 30 rupees, he will pay from his pocket. So suppose this month my winning was less than 100, they did not deduct tax. Next month I withdraw, then again the winning was less than 100, they did not tax. Third month when I withdraw, my winning was 500 net winnings. So 500 पे तो tax कटेगा guys. Plus जो 200, जो less than 100 amounts which were there, which were not taxed earlier, उस पे भी tax would be deductible. But if there is no balance to recover, then the deductor takes the responsibility to pay it from his pocket. It's not 100 per transaction, it is if the winnings are less than 100 in a month. This is insignificant in the sense from the deductor point of view कि क्या 100 rupees पे TDS काटो, ठीक है, जब 100 rupees से ज्यादा होगा, then you deduct the TDS and you have to consider the previous amount. Nowhere they're not taxing 100 rupees. They're taxing it when it is more than 100, the winnings are more than 100. Got it? Or in kind होगा तब भी deduct, you have to ensure that the TDS is deducted or recovered from the assessee, and in kind में value you have to take the same value which would be considered based on the fair market value of the product which is given. So all in all, if I want to say here, you have to focus if a question comes to you would be on the one which we practiced. A question can come up various stages of various withdrawals. What you have to do, you have to remember in your mind that the time of deduction is withdrawal, first withdrawal, subsequent withdrawal. First withdrawal is not withdrawal of the lifetime. First withdrawal is the first withdrawal of that year. Subsequent withdrawal and subsequent reward and subsequent withdrawal, and at the end of the financial year, if any balance is there. If any balance is there. And for each stage, I have to calculate net winnings. For every subsequent stage of taxability, I have to calculate net winnings of the stage, and then I have to come to the final taxable amount. And wo winnings pe I have to calculate the tax. If any information is extra given to me, loss incurred, net winning from this, all those things I have to ignore. I have to focus on withdrawal amount. I have to focus on opening balance. I have to focus on closing up balance and net winning, which I have taxed earlier. That's it. वहाँ पे लॉस अमाउंट गेन अमाउंट फ्रॉम अ गेम लिखा होगा, प्लीज मत कंफ्यूज होना. ओके मैंने बहुत तसल्ली से कोशिश किया है टू अटेम्प्ट टू मेक दिस सेक्शन विच इज डिफिकल्ट, इम्पोर्टेंट, न्यू फॉर मी, न्यू फॉर टू you too, to explain it, and I hope you people got what is actually online gaming. जो बाकी चीजें हैं मल्टीपल यूजर अकाउंट वाली, वो कुछ कुछ अगर इफ इट्स ऑन द सेम प्लेटफॉर्म, then it would be all accounts would be considered as one because they are under the same pan and under the same platform. Yeah, alag if I have one account on Dream 11 and if I have one account on Rummy Circle, then Rummy Circle would deduct tax on the user account which is there, and Dream 11 would deduct tax on the user account which is there. Suppose if I have, I don't know any gaming platform, if you can tell, जहाँ पे multiple games चलती है. In school, I used to play, but abhi I'm totally blank of an example. So if for each multiple account I have different each for each multiple game I have different accounts. Suppose at one platform I'm playing chess also, I'm playing Ludo also. Chess के लिए I have separate account, Ludo के लिए I have separate account. Then all of them का सारा balance would be considered to calculate net winnings. Whatever amount see ultimately is taxed earlier is not getting taxed. सबको समझ आ गया guys? How was online gaming for you? So I hope you get a chance to play after exams. मैं पता गूगल पे कैशबैक को मैं विनिंग्स फ्रॉम गेम्स नहीं बोलूंगी, बिकॉज यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड हियर अ पर्सन इज प्लेइंग अ गेम. इट कैन बी अ गेम ऑफ लक, इट कैन बी एनीथिंग, बट दैट इज अ कैजुअल इनकम. इसके ऊपर ना बहुत केस लॉज भी आए हैं कि हाउ टू टैक्स देम, बट दैट वुड नॉट बी ऑनलाइन गेमिंग. बट अगेन, कैशबैक ऑन ड्रीम इलेवन डेफिनेटली कैन बी कंसिडर्ड. अब मैं कोई ट्रांजैक्शन कर रही हूँ ऑनलाइन, उस पर कैशबैक आ रहा है, आई विल नॉट कंसिडर इट एज ऑनलाइन गेम. समझ आ गया गाइस? I will not take a break until all the tedious provisions are over. So now, please back to it. Response time थोड़ा सा बढ़ा लो. Thank you. So subsequent deposit भी हो जाए तो कोई problem नहीं है ना. In that 6,000 वाला example, suppose before closing balance, I deposited 3,000 rupees more. तो क्या problem है? उसमें उसको deposits में add कर दो. Ultimately, you have to calculate profit, basically, and from that profit, whatever is taxed earlier, उसको हटा दो. You come to the final profit. अगर 6,000 में one transaction is there that I deposited 2,500 rupees. So my net winnings would come to 4,500 rupees. Try to do it. जितना मर्जी फिगर्स दे दे, ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट मन में रखो, इजीली हो जाएगा. चलो guys, go go ahead though so that I can move forward, because this is something I really don't want to make you hang and dry कि ये तो समझ नहीं आया, मैम आगे चल गई, because अभी we are coming to most important thing now. Thank you. चलो. So, guys, what is the essence of TDS? I told you a person has to obtain a TAN number to deduct the tax. Basically, that TAN number would help him to do all the provisions. And remember, I give you the full form of TAN also, which is tax deduction and collection account number, which is tax deduction and collection account number. No one will say that it is tax account number. It is tax deduction and collection account number. Okay. Now, this TAN has to be obtained one time, once in a lifetime of a person, and then he can use it for all TDS compliances, all TCS compliances, the same time. He has to file the return. Why filing of return is important? What are the stages of TDS? TDS mein first you get to know what is the time of deduction. Correct? At that time of deduction, please everyone focus here. You will get to know when I am deducting the tax. You will get to know the month in which you are deducting the tax. Number one. Then you have to deposit the tax monthly. Monthly deposit of tax goes by 7th of the next month. So whatever TDS I have deducted for all the sections from 192 to 195, all the sections I have to deposit the tax by 7th of the next month, as in April ka tax 7th May ka tax 7th June, and so on. But March ka tax by 30th of April. Why so? Because obviously the books are closing. You need to identify thoroughly all the transactions, that what are those transactions in which tax has to be deducted, etc., etc. कभी कभार bills come late and etc. So 30th of April. Now you are depositing the tax in one challan, simply 281 होता है शायद. You simply deposit the tax monthly, corporate non-corporate करके. But how will government know that to whom this tax belongs? Because whatever tax you've deducted is the credit of the other person, which we discussed in the previous class. How will government know to whom that tax belongs? You file a return. Return in the context of tax or anywhere is a statement which you file. This statement is a detailed statement which you file every quarter. So April to June, second quarter is July to September, October to December, and last quarter, January to March. Correct? You file the return. When is the return has to be filed? By 31st of the next month of the quarter. So 31st July, 31st October, 31st January, 31st April, nahi hota guys, 31st May, because 30th April tak to you are filing the tax. Why I am doing all this? अभी 194 आई है, नहीं समझाया? Wait करो guys, wait करो. So उस return में you tell I have deducted this tax for this person under this section on this amount. You have this person नहीं लिखूंगी. I will not write I have deduct taxes of Ridhima Bhatia. I have to tell the PAN of the deductor. I have to tell the PAN of the deductor. So that's why it's very deductive. I have to tell the PAN of deductee that this tax belongs to this person, and then it will get reflected in 26 AS of that person. This is practical information focus. Okay. Now, this is one thing. But the person to whom I have, basically for whom I have deducted the TDS, need a certification, a sort of assurance that yes, the tax which I deducted from you have been deposited to the government and it has been given under your name. Okay? So that sort of assurance is given through certificates. Certificates matlab form 16, 16A, 16B, 16C, so on. Okay? These are sort of form a certificate which the deductor issues to the deductee. And this is issued after 15 days of filing the return. For every quarter, you have to issue the certificate. And for everyone as a deductee, you should ask the deductor to give you the certificate because this is an proof for you that the person has deposited the tax under your name. And you can keep it. Kal ko if you revise the returns, at least you have a proof with you. Okay? But salary का one time certificate मिलता है to all the employees by 15th of June. Okay? Because 31st तक May तक return file होती है, one certificate मिलता है by 15th of June. This is all about TDS. Now, if you see from the deductor point of view, कितने सारे compliances हैं? Time of deduction, timely deposit, filing the return, filing the certificate. Very cumbersome, very tiresome. इसलिए in many of the common sections like 194C, 194A, 194J, 194I, 194H, we saw that small taxpayers, as in small players or small income people, like individual and HUF, who do not have the turnover in the preceding financial year of 1 crore in case of business or gross receipts of 50 lakhs in case of profession, they are exempted from the deduction, right? They are not the eligible deductor. The reason is the compliances. The reason is the compliances. But ho kya raha tha? The government was feeling a sort of disconnect. There are salaried people who do a lot of transactions, financial transactions, which are of high volumes. There are these people also who do not have business income or have a small amount of business income, but are involved in a lot of common transactions. So they came up with the concept of no TAN deduction. Matlab, the deductor need not have a TAN, but if he's an eligible deductor, he has to deduct the tax. So this can be said as exception to not obtaining the TAN and deduct tax. Okay. So they applied a very smart brain. Let's bring up with one type of form which does all the need. Monthly deposits bhi ho rahe, return bhi bhar rahe, no one has to wait for a lot of time. So they came up with a scheme where no TAN would be required to deduct taxes, and people who are involved into high value transactions, they would also be covered. Okay. And one such transaction which happens at a major scale in India is sale and purchase of property, be it land or building. The first section which was introduced under this no TAN deduction, and everyone was surprised that amazingly it was introduced some 10, 12 years back, was 194IA. This is TDS on sale purchase of immovable property. Okay? Then, so slowly, they brought a section on rent also, but separate rent, other than the one which is eligible for 194I. Then they brought a section to cover 194C, matlab contractual payments and professional payments and commission payment. Because you see, these are all those sections जहाँ पे individual HUF otherwise are not covered if they don't have that turnovers, right? But यहाँ पे भी other than 194C वाले, other than 194H वाले, 194J वाले, okay? And lastly, very lastly, which they brought up was on virtual digital assets. Now, the first three, which we'll be covering, are 194IA, 194IB, and 194M, are covered under this chapter. VDA के लिए, it is covered under separate chapter. Why? Again, I told you all of this because then only you will understand how these three sections are important and are different from my other sections. ठीक है, अगर वो framework clear होगा ना, so there would be no need to ratify. So let's begin with section 194 IA. So as I told you, sale purchase of movable property happens at a large scale in India, as in large volume. गांव से लेके एज इन विलेज से लेके मेट्रो सिटीज तक, कमर्शियल प्लॉट से लेके रेजिडेंशियल प्लॉट तक, लैंड से लेके बिल्डिंग तक, एवरीथिंग इज गेटिंग सोल्ड एंड परचेज, राइट? देर आर लॉट ऑफ रजिस्ट्री, गो टू रजिस्टर ऑफिस, डेली का इतना रजिस्ट्री है, ठीक है? सो दैट्स वाई गवर्नमेंट वॉज थिंकिंग हाउ शुड वी कवर इट, हाउ शुड वी कवर इट. दे केम अप विद 194 IA, अ नोट एंड डिडक्शन सेक्शन. इसमें क्या होगा? ऑल दीज नोट एंड डिडक्शन सेक्शन में व्हाट विल हैपन, आई विल नॉट रिपीट अगेन एंड अगेन बिकॉज दीज आर कॉमन. A person would need to file one form which is called challan cum return form. Matlab, in that form, he will fill basic details for a transaction, and once he submit it, he has to deposit the tax amount, and that's it. From the basic details, the tax amount is deposited and the return is also filed. And after 15 days, he can issue the certificate. That's it. So in one step, he has to do all the deposit and return formalities, basically in one form, and it is done. And this has to be done 30 days from the end of the month in which tax is deducted. 30 days from the end of the month in which tax is deducted. Okay. So if I deduct tax today, then it would not be 30th of December or 7th of January. It would be 30th of January. No one would say 31st of January. No. 30th of January. Okay? Okay? So back to this. Section 194 IA is a TDS on payment or transfer of certain immovable properties other than agricultural land. Other than agricultural land के आगे ना यहाँ पे clearly लिख दो other than rural agricultural land. Not urban, rural agricultural land. So basically, who would deduct the tax here? Obviously, the person who is responsible for making the payment. Who would be the buyer? Who would be the buyer? So that buyer, whether resident, non-resident, does not matter. So quickly write it. Payer would be, or deductor would be the buyer. Any person, resident, non-resident, does not matter. Pay would be the resident seller. Resident seller. इसमें भी only resident deductee is covered, not all. So a person sitting outside India, as in who is a non-resident, is selling a property, उसका TDS नहीं कटेगा. But if a person who is an NRI and is buying property in India, he would be required to deduct tax. He would be required to deduct tax. What is the rate? Rate is, guys, 1%. Rate is 1%. 1% of what? So 1% of actual consideration or stamp duty value, whichever is higher. So if actual consideration is higher, then actual consideration pay. If stamp duty value is higher, then stamp duty value pay. Threshold limit क्या है, guys? Threshold limit is whenever the actual consideration or stamp duty value, दोनों में से कोई भी या both of them, दोनों में से कोई भी, whenever they are 50 lakhs or more. So even if the actual consideration is 50 lakhs, stamp duty value is 49 lakhs, this section would be applicable. क्योंकि 50 lakhs is also considered for triggering the TDS amount. 49 lakh 99,999 पे नहीं लगेगा. So guys, this means example, if the actual consideration is 40 lakhs, stamp duty value is 48 lakhs. TDS would be applicable? No. दोनों कम है, दोनों 50 से कम है. ठीक है. सेकेंड एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं. एक्चुअल कंसिडरेशन इज 51 lakhs. Stamp duty value is 47 lakhs. TDS would be applicable? Yes. On what? On 51 lakhs. 1% of 51. Actual consideration is 51 lakhs. Stamp duty value is 58 lakhs. TDS would be applicable? Yes. Because one of them भी 50 से ज्यादा हुआ, TDS 50 या 50 से ज्यादा हुआ, TDS would be applicable. On what? On 58 lakhs. 1% of actual consideration of stamp duty value, whichever is higher. So this is very important to note. Guys, I know you have this thought of section 50C maybe and section 56 to 10 maybe. You must have studied that taxability के point of view से and gift के point of view से. Obviously कि मैम वो 110% देखते हैं, वो यहाँ पे नहीं देखना. Guys, this is a tax deductibility section. This is not an income chargeability section. Those provisions are important from income chargeability point of view. Whether it's taken as gift, and whether when it is sold, then actual consideration point, what has to be taken as full value of consideration. यहाँ पे 110% वाला कोई concept नहीं है. वो उनका इनकम चार्जेबिलिटी के पर्सपेक्टिव से, yes you have to see. Obviously यहाँ पे सेलर के पार्ट में you have to see what would be the full value of consideration. But यहाँ रिसिपिएंट के पॉइंट से you have to see the gift amount. But from the tax deductibility point of view, which is the buyer point of view, which is the deductive point of view, you only have to see which is higher, 1% of that. Now, time of deduction is same, whichever is earlier. Credit or payment, whichever is earlier. Credit or payment, whichever is earlier. अब guys, compulsory acquisition पे 194 LA लग जाता है, तो ये नहीं लगेगा, okay? इसमें फॉर्म 26Q भी भरते हैं. अब यहाँ पे दो पॉइंट्स which you have to remember is, one is the point of what is the consideration. Actual consideration में क्या लेंगे? अब since guys, what used to happen was the people were very chalak, as in they were very clever. They know कि 50 lakhs would trigger the tax deductibility. So what they used to do, they used to show that we have taken 52 lakhs as consideration, but 3 lakhs is not for the building, it is for the lift, the maintenance, common area usage, for parking, etc., etc. Okay, so that it used to show that building के लिए या land के लिए they have already only given 49 lakhs or 48 lakhs. But government is smart. Government said what actual consideration would obviously include the consideration for property, but along with that, whatever is given for the purchase of house as electricity fee, as one-time electricity fee, as one-time parking fee, or one-time club membership fee, or one-time society charges, whatever. Everything would be considered for consideration. All the incidental charges which are happening on transfer would be considered as consideration, and they would be included in that 50 lakhs ka limit, and then the TDS would be deducted. I'm telling you why they did it. They used to show that other the property का 50 से कम है and बाकी amount is for different things, but in actual it was property का 50 से ज्यादा. So now the government made it clear that whatever is happening, we will consider whatever amount you're paying at the time of transfer as actual consideration. Number one. Number two, remember when you were doing 194I gave you an example. 2,40,000 ka, a person is paying rent to co-owners. He's paying owner 1,50,000, owner 2, 1,50,000. The rent was 3 lakhs, but he was paying 150, 150 differently. So we said that no TDS would be attracted because the limit is 2,40,000 per payee. Okay, you understood it. Very good. यहाँ पे if the co-owners are there, like co-owners as in co-sellers are there, and suppose the property consideration is considered to be 60 lakhs, but 30 lakhs would go to A, who's one seller, and 30 lakhs would go to B or the wife, which is Mrs. A. Now the question comes whether the tax is deductible. Whether the tax is deductible, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Why yes? Guys, because यहाँ पे the triggering point is when the consideration of the property is 50 lakhs or more, or the stamp duty value is 50 lakhs or more. यहाँ पे criteria is not per payee or per seller, it is 50 lakhs or more. Okay, so this, no matter whatever or how many people you have as seller, if the consideration for a particular building or a particular flat or a particular land or a particular transaction basically is 50 lakhs or more, either as stamp duty value or actual consideration, this section would be civil, tax deductible. Okay, so this is 194 IA. Quit out, guys. See, guys, मेरा ये मानना है नो बाय दिस टाइम मेनी ऑफ यू मस्ट बी थिंकिंग कि मैम ने टीसीएस क्यों नहीं कराया, एडवांस टैक्स क्यों नहीं कराया, व्हाई वी हैव नॉट डन ऑल दिस. बट फॉर मी, motto of my life is whatever you do it the best way and don't rush unnecessarily. So I know a lot of topic you might think is left, but I know from my heart whatever is important I'm trying to cover and cover it in the best resolution matter. मंशा, रूरल एग्रीकल्चर लैंड अर्बन एरिया में नहीं होगा. रूरल एग्रीकल्चर लैंड का डेफिनेशन होता है द वन विच इज नॉट कवर्ड इन अर्बन एरिया. एग्रीकल्चर लैंड अगर अर्बन एरिया में है तो वो अर्बन एग्रीकल्चर लैंड हो जाता है. ओके, Namrata, as I explained you, TAN is important to deduct TDS under all the sections, which we did before 194 IA. But 194 IA and the coming sections are an exception that even if you have TAN or don't have TAN, we don't care. The deductor, based on the PAN number of his own PAN number, would do all the compliance, and he does not have to wait for the month to get over. जो मैंने आपको dates बताए, 7th of the month or 30th of April, and then quarter to file the return, and then so on to issue the certificate. He has to just file one form, in this case, which is 26QB, one form which would be challan cum return, and all the information would be given to the government. So जैसे वो challan cum return form में basically यहाँ पे क्या जाएगा, seller details, buyer details, property details, transaction value, as in what is the consideration, what is the stamp duty value, whether given as lump sum, whether given as installment. Agar if you're paying it in installments, each installments where you have to deduct tax. If the consideration, final consideration is 50 lakhs or more, or the stamp duty value is 50 lakhs or more. Coming to the point, so he just have to give this information, finish, submit it, pay the tax. No need to file the return because all the information has been given to the department in one form. So you have TAN or do not have TAN. This section is for everyone. Consideration is obviously for the immovable property, land or building or both. Has anyone ever filed 26 QB in their articleship period? No. Hmm. This is a very important form. See guys, अगर कभी experience नहीं किया ना, open these forms. 26QB is easily available. I hope you must have e-filing log details. वहां पे जाओ, फिर 26QB आएगा. Just try how these forms are made. These forms are total replica of the sections which we study. Give your time to understand all these practical things. Okay, now to the next section, 194 IB. Payment of rent by certain individuals or HF. I will not tell कि इन दोनों में डिफरेंस क्या है 194I एंड 194IB में. You will tell कि 194I और IB में why after having 194I still 194IB was introduced. 194I is for rent. Okay. 194IB is also for rent. ऐसा नहीं है कि 194I में individuals HF are not covered, but they are covered. So what is the difference between 194I and 194IB? This word. Certain individuals and HUF. 194I में guys कौन से individuals covered नहीं थे? Who all individuals are not covered? Personal purpose नहीं. Who all individuals are not covered? Any individual or HUF who did not have a turnover of more than 1 crore in the preceding financial year or more than 50 lakhs in case of profession in the preceding financial year. Correct? So if I have turnover, if I have gross receipt, but they are not crossing the turnover, they are not crossing the limits, I was not covered under 194I. If I did not have business at all, I was not at all covered under 194I. But that is true. A salaried individual can be paying a huge amount of rent, which can be more than 240, as in on an average of more than 20,000. उस हिसाब से, but they are not deducting tax. And hence, because they are not eligible for 194I, government ko these transactions are not reported. Correct? Because no 194I deductibility, no reporting. So government came up with the same concept in note and TDS section. Note and tax deductibility section. यहाँ पे भी will bring a concept in a way that people who are paying high value rent, but are not covered under 194I, but are not covered under 194I because of because of them being not having business or having business but not having that requisite turnover. Then they would be covered here. If I have business income in the preceding financial year which is crossing the turnover limits, I will deduct tax under 194I. But if I have business income or which is less than those respective limits, or if I have salary income and I'm paying high value of rent, then I would not be covered under 194I but under 194IB. Differentiation is important. See, guys, हमेशा chronology से you have to go for the TDS section. First chronology is always the first one to be preferred. If 194IB are not covered, then you will go under 194IB. Okay, so who would be the deductor? The one who is not covered under 194I. So individuals and HUF not covered under 194I. And वो तभी clear होगा when you know who are covered under 194I or who are not covered under 194I. Deductee कौन होगा? As in the payee would be the resident person. I hope all of you are preparing the chart which I said to do it from the first day. Rate 5%. Threshold limit is very interesting, guys. Threshold limit is this section would be applicable when rent per month or part of the month is more than 50,000. So you see, if you're paying a rent of more than 50,000 and still this transaction is going unreported or non-tax deductibility, so government was in a gist. So they brought up this section. Ab rent to we pay every month, technically. So the TDS has to be deducted every month? No, because फिर क्या provision हुआ? If TDS ultimately has to be deducted every month and deposited every month, so does not make sense. Correct? Does not make sense. So here the tax has to be deducted one time. One time कौन सा time? Last month of the year, which is March. तो जब मार्च का पेमेंट करोगे तब, और last month of occupancy. So suppose I'm leaving the house earlier. Tenant is deducting the tax, guys. Last month of occupancy. If I'm leaving the house earlier, as in if I've left, I'm vacating the house in December. So December is the month in which I have to deduct tax on the entire amount. How would this work? Simple sa hai. One second. Let me show you an example also. I hope I have it. I can make it. Opening, guys, opening. Where is this? Sorry, guys. Hmm. Hmm. So, for example, I'm paying rent for the month of April, May, June, July. Every month, 55,000 is being paid. Okay? So, April, maybe May, maybe June, maybe July, maybe August, maybe September. Till March, 55,000 is the rent amount. So, when I will deduct the tax? Ab March ka whenever rent I am paying, whenever March का rent I am paying, उस amount पे I will deduct the tax. So, अब tax तो technically has to be deducted on the rent for entire year. So the rent for entire year is 55,000 into 12, 6 lakh 60. 6 lakh 60 पे I will deduct TDS of 33,000, which is 5%. So March का जब rent का payment which I'll be making, it will be 55,000 minus 33,000. Sorry for the zero, which is 22,000, which I would be paying ultimately. Net payment would be itna. This will go as TDS. Don't worry, the landlord would not make any chick chick. They also know that this is a TDS provision. Okay, so sari year ka TDS altogether would be paid in would be deducted and deposited in one go. April to March ka, okay, would be deducted and deposited in one go through from 26 QC. तो वहां पे भी सेम फिगर जाएगा 22,000 टैक्स डिपॉजिट हो जाएगा सेम 30 days from the end of the month in which tax is deducted. So when the tax is deducted, उसके 30 days of the end of the month से. अगर रेंट बढ़ गया बीच में सो उतने अमाउंट पे टीडीएस डिडक्ट हो जाएगा गाइस. अगर 56 हो गया तो 55 प्लस 56 टोटल ईयर जितना भी टोटल रेंट फॉर द ईयर. Credit or payment, whichever is earlier. Sorry. Now, if suppose I vacated the house not in March, but I vacated the house in December itself. So 55,000 into 10, 10 months का रेंट गया, 5,50,000 हुआ. 5,50,000 पे 5% और लास्ट मंथ के दिसंबर से 55 माइनस 5% और 550 that would be paid. कोई डाउट? करेक्ट मंशा, एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. वेरी गुड शंकरा, वेरी गुड गाइस. So section 194 IB would cover only those transactions which are not covered under 194I, which are naturally for those individuals or HF who in the preceding financial year have no business or have business or but is the turnover is less than 1 crore or has profession and the gross receipts are less than 50 lakhs. Now, 194 IB में those people would be covered if they are paying monthly rent of more than 50,000. They have to deduct tax one time at the end of the year, at the credit of the end of the year, or payment whichever is earlier, or at the credit or payment of the last month of tenancy, whichever is earlier. Now, how much TDS has to be deducted? 5%. टोटल रेंट निकालना है एंड लास्ट पेमेंट या लास्ट क्रेडिट में से उसको डिडक्ट करके यू हैव टू पे टू द पर्सन सिंपल यहाँ पे वन प्रॉब्लम इज देयर अभी विल स्टडी सेक्शन 206 डबल ए ऑल्सो सेक्शन 206 डबल ए सेज गाइस दैट इफ यू do not get PAN. I told it earlier also. If you do not get PAN, then you have to deduct the tax at 20% or the rate whichever is higher, rate of that section whichever is higher. Okay? 20% or the rate of that section whichever is higher. But agar suppose the person, the deductee did not give me the PAN, as in the landlord did not give me the PAN, which is most likely not when you're paying a rent of 50,000 above. Practical life में बताती हूँ, you will always get a PAN because you would obviously have a registry done or a notary done of that agreement of your rent agreement. So you will have PAN or Aadhaar. Agar if the person has not given the PAN, if the person has not given the PAN, then technically as per section 206 AA, you have to deduct tax at 20%. But let me give an example where if I deduct tax at 20%, I might not have that much money to deduct. You will be like, ma'am, what are you saying? Let me just show it. यही वाला एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं which we did of the month of March तक. ठीक है, अब क्या हुआ? I know that I have to deduct tax when March months come. I know the total rent for the year is 660. ठीक है. Now the problem came, I asked this person the PAN number. He did not give me. But technically, as per section 206 AA, I will deduct tax at 20%. अब problem क्या है? 1,60,000 का 20% is 1,32,000. अब last month का rent कितना है? 55. Earlier payments I have already made. How can I deduct 55 में से 1,32,000? How can I do that? So the government says wherever such situation arises and you do not have the PAN, so the maximum tax deduction in that stage would be the rent amount of that month. So यहाँ पे TDS would be 55,000. So you will not pay anything to that person and everything would go as tax deduction at source. But it would not be 20% naturally because obviously I don't have that much rent to deduct from. Got it? Clear? Namrita, somebody also clear? Good. Now, कोई doubt? Quickly go through. कोई भी problem है? Other points में please write this 20% वाला चीज. 194 IC simple है. You can go through it. We'll come to 194M. That is important. Done, guys? How will government distinguish the assessee if there is no TAN requirement? TAN is unique and help. Correct. See, even if a person, for example, government will get the information of turnovers, right? And still he is not deducting tax and still he is filing 194 IB. Government will send a notice that you should have deducted tax under section 194 I and not 194 IB. Okay, because वहां पे I में it would be a case of short deduction because 194 I में technically you have to deduct tax at the rate of 10%. IB में you're deducting only at the 5%. So government will send notice because now information of turnovers, everything is with government. ठीक है. But 194 IA is one section, IA, where even if a person has TAN, he still has to file 194 IA. He still has to file 194 IA with 26 QB. उसमें he there is no other, because there is no other section for immovable property. And one reason to first why immovable property was included, so that it could cover all in one. उसके अलावा गवर्नमेंट नोज हु इज रिक्वायर्ड टू हैव टैन एंड स्टिल दे हैव नॉट डिडक्टेड टीडीएस. आते हैं नोटिस आते हैं. आई सॉ वन पर्सन गेटिंग नोटिस of 194 IA after almost 2 years of not deducting the tax. 7 years तक नोटिस आते हैं guys. Okay. Now next is a very important section but very simple section if you will understand who are the eligible deductors. सारी गेम ही उसी पे guys, और कुछ भी नहीं है इसमें. There is nothing else in this section where is very technical. But let's understand who are the eligible deductors under section 194M. First of all, let's see what type of payments are covered. Contract work, commission or brokerage, and fee for professional services. अब बोलोगे मैम ये तो covered है ना, we have already studied it. Yes, 194C में contract work, 194J में professional, and 194H में we have already covered commission. Why so again we are coming here? First of all, this section is again for individual or HUF, for contract, for professional, for commission. For which all individuals HUF are not covered under 194C, J and H. Ab J mein guys, there are multiple payments. There's professional also, technical also. But 194M only covers professional services. Mark it important, not technical services covered here, only professional. Okay. So now let's see who all individual HUF not covered under 194C. They would be the deductor under 194M. Eligible deductor who are not covered under 194C and 194H and 194J. ऐसे you can write in your summary book, but who are actually not covered under 194C? एक तो जिनका business नहीं है, correct? If they have do not no have business, no business or profession, have business or profession but do not have the turnover. This is 194C, okay? Have business and profession but not requisite turnover, correct? Or gross receipts in the preceding financial year, correct? And also personal purpose payment. Remember 194C में personal purpose payment are not included even if you are eligible deductor or not. So catering वाले को whenever was I making payment for say शादी का function, I was not deducting 194C. 194C for office function catering, I was deducting. Similarly, 194J may be same, exactly same. No business वाले, or business having but not requisite turnover one, or personal purpose वाले but not covered under 194J. And 194 personal purpose B, guys, very important. 194H में who were not covered? No business or having business but no turnover. No requisite turnovers. ठीक है? They were covered. Personal purpose is covered under 194H. If you think, I specifically told if you're making payment for brokerage for a house which you have purchased for residential purpose, you have a business turnover, you will deduct 194H. So personal purpose C and J is not covered. So all those people would now come under 194C, J and H. All those. So even if I have I have turnover, okay, but I'm making payment for personal purpose, that limit would be considered under 194M, which we are doing. So isliye that's what I'm saying. If you understand eligible deductors, other thing is just simple as vanilla. So even if I have the requisite turnover, but if I'm making a payment to doctor for my heart transplant, if what say it doesn't come, so 194 J would cover because personal purpose. 194H will cover if I'm making payment for 194 M would cover. Sorry. because it is not covered under 194J. Second example, commission for house from purchase of house. If I have requisite turnover is covered under 194H. So personal purpose wala 194H में नहीं है. Personal purpose is only for C and J. Okay. So all these people who have written here are covered under 194M. So यहाँ पे eligible deductor is clear. Now coming to the point of eligible deductee. So eligible deductee, my friend, would be any resident person. Then again, this section is a no tan section exception. What is the rate? Rate is 5%. What is the threshold? Threshold is when I'm making payment to a single person and I am an no, eligible deductor, and that payment during the year is more than 50 lakhs. This 50 lakhs is per annum limit, and all types of payment are covered. Yani, if suppose to one person I'm making payment of catering also, so event management also, catering comes under 194C ka exception, event management comes under 194J ka exception, and for commission also. So total if 50 lakhs से ज़्यादा है, then I will deduct TDS. Then I will deduct TDS. Same 30 days from the end of the month in which the tax is deducted. बस. और कुछ है ही नहीं इसमें. Time of deduction, same credit or payment, whichever is earlier. So if you see this question and quickly see who have to deduct tax under which section, you will get to know the provisions I'm talking about. Quickly go through this question and ask if there is any question. Because this, all the sections of TDS are covered with me. So 194M is TDS on contract, commission, and professional services, not technical services. Pure individual HUF, not covered under respective sections of C, H, and J. Or rate is 5%, threshold is 50 lakhs per annum से ज़्यादा for all types of payment. Professional per pay and pay is resident person. No time section. Quickly go through the question, quickly go through the all sections if you have any doubt. तो अभी तक अगर मैं sections की बात करूं, the sections which are covered on the payment basis are 192, 192A, 194B, 194BB. Okay, one second. I've already zoomed it. Should I zoom more? तो वो ऐसे होगा. ठीक है. So I was saying sections which are only covered in the case of payment or tax is deductible only in case of payment. 192, 192A, PA withdrawal, 194B, 194BB, winnings, horse races. You can say in a way 194BA also, but उसमें financial year वाला चीज है. 194DA, which is LIC maturity, insurance maturity. 194LA, compulsory acquisition. 194N, cash withdrawal, and 194 dividend. Rest all are on payment or credit, whichever is earlier. Guys, किसी में doubt? Give a go ahead. बस फिर 10 minutes का more of TDS is left. Then we'll take a break. Don't worry. If next 1 minute I do not get a respond, I will assume everything is clear. Pancha, Shankara, everyone who is listening, Munish, everyone. नम्रता डाउट कौन से पार्ट पे है? Where do you have the doubt? See, third में, a person who is salaried person paying brokerage for buying a residential house, he will definitely deduct tax under 194M. See, first you have to see whether they are covered in C, J and H or not. If not, then come to M. सीधा M पे सोचोगे, it would be wrong. तभी I said chronology is very important in TDS. If I would have picked any sections in between. Similarly, a pensioner is not covered under any of the sections, so and he's paying contractual payment for house, but it is less than 50 lakhs. Fourth would not be covered. Okay. So now we come to certain provisions which everyone should have knowledge of, which are the provisions under section 206AA. If you have a book or the PDF of it, you can come quickly to section one, page 119. If you don't have the book, I'll help you. Don't worry. So guys, there are some miscellaneous provisions also which you have to remember and which you can skip. But first thing, there are two sections. Importantly, section 206AA and section 206AB. These are sort of sections which are my, what you can say here, one second. Okay. These are the sections which makes the procedure part of TDS easier and important. So first section which is there in place for years is section 206AA. This section says that a deductee has to provide his PAN. Any deductee has to provide his PAN. If he is not providing his PAN, then the deductor has a right to deduct TDS at the rate of 20% or the rate in section whichever is higher. So 20% or the rate whichever is higher. Higher ka matlab, suppose if I do not get PAN in section 194B, I will not deduct tax at 20%. The rate is higher in that section, which is 30%. So 30% would be deducted. Obviously, if the rate is less than 20%, then only 20% would come into force. But two sections are there, which is 194O and 194Q. जहाँ पे if PAN is not provided, the maximum deduction would be at 5%. The maximum deduction would be at 5%. Got it? But obviously, this is an exemption for people who are not allowed to have PAN, basically जिनका permanent establishment नहीं होता उनके लिए. ठीक है? Now, a question is, what is 206 AB? 206 AB, guys, this section is one of the government initiative to catch hold of people who have not filed the return and have tax credit in their account. Not file the return and have tax credit in their account. उन लोगों को they catch hold of. They catch hold of those people. अब you will think कि मैम नॉन फाइलर भी did cover under 194N, जहाँ पे नॉन फाइलर का रेट था 20 lakhs से स्टार्ट हो जाता था 2% instead of 1 crore. Yes, that is that non-filer which is there for 194N. This is separate. This is separate. Don't mix both the provisions. Okay. So 206 AB, guys, is a higher rate of TDS for non-filer of income tax. Non-filer of income tax would be people. Who would be the people? People who are the deductee. People who are the deductee who have not filed the return of income and the time has expired and they have TDS TCS credit for that year. For that year, TDS and TCS both combined for that year for 50,000 or more. Now imagine, why would a person who has a TDS credit of 50,000 or more for a respective year and he has not filed the return of income? The TDS credit has to be seen for the year for which he has not filed the return. For which he has not filed the return. Why would he not do it? So something might be fishy. He might not want to show the government his true income. Correct. So to catch hold for them, a higher rate of TDS is given, which is twice the rate of the section or 5%, whichever is higher. Twice the rate of section or 5%, whichever is higher. So here the maximum rate is 5% or twice the rate, whichever is higher. So suppose if I talk about section 194I for plant and machinery, if I get to know that the person is non-filer and he has a huge amount of TDS there, then the TDS has to be deducted at the rate of 5%. Why? Because twice of 4% is, twice of 2% is 4 or 5, which is higher, so 5 is higher. But if I get to know, if I have to pay, if I have to deduct 194J of a person, 194J of a person, and he's a non-filer, then I will deduct tax at 20%. Then I will deduct tax at 20% because twice the rate would be higher. Simple. Now the question is, how will I get to know that this person is non-filer? Say you will get to know by putting in the PAN of the person. There is a utility for the TDS people. They put in the PAN. They put in the PAN of the person and they get to know whether that person is non-filer or not. Specified person list is updated every year and they get to know whether a person is non-filer or not. So for financial year 23-24, you don't have to see कि उसने return file करी है नहीं. You will not ask for the information. You just have to get the PAN of the person. You will put it in the list of specified person. If that person is specified person, that means he's a non-filer and you have to deduct tax at a higher rate, which is twice percent or twice the rate of 5%. Okay. But to tell you which year would be applicable, so suppose I have to deduct TDS for financial year 23-24. If I have to deduct the TDS for financial year 23-24, which year ka return I would see? See, previous year 22-23 ka date is still pending in financial year 23-24 because it comes in July or October as the case may be. So which year is left? That is my previous year 21-22, जिसका due date has already lapsed in financial year 23-24. That is, उसका assessment year is 22-23, जिसका date is already lapsed. So someone who has not filed the return in the previous year 21-22 and his TDS TCS together in aggregate is 50,000 or more as credit, that person is a non-filer deductee, and the deductor thus has a right to deduct the tax at twice the rate or 5%, whichever is higher. It is his responsibility. And this section overrides all the section. It will override 15G, 15H, सारे sections which we see. And this section is also not leaving. Maybe the person might not be covered as a person who has to compulsory file his return, but this section is not favoring those people also. This section clearly says no ROI has been filed, times has lapsed, TDS is 50,000 or more. You are a non-filer. You have to get your tax deducted at twice the rate of 5%, whichever is higher. But guys, section is not applicable in case of non-resident pay or not having P in India. And also, this section is not applicable in these cases. 192, 192A, 194B, BA, BB, IA, IB, LBC, MN. उन केसेस में I do not have to see the applicability of 206AB ultimately. वहां पे बस ये देखना है पैन है, fine. I have to deduct the tax as per the rates mentioned there. पैन नहीं है तो twice the rate or 20%. पैन नहीं है तो rate or 20%, whichever is higher. These are the section on which 194 to 192, 192A, 4B, B, A, BB, IA, IB, LBC, M, and N, on which your 206AB is not applicable. Got it, guys? कोई confusion A, B में? Because Namrata, previous year 22, 23 का financial year 23, 24 में return filing का time बचता है ना. अब suppose किसी का मेरे को beginning of the financial year में tax deduct करना है. So 22, 23 का return filing का period is there. Because इसका due date is July 23 or October 23. आज तो जब तक टीडीएस खत्म नहीं होगा, आई एम नॉट लेटिंग एनीवन गो इंक्लूडिंग माई सेल्फ. बस 10 minutes एंड देन विल टेक द ब्रेक, प्रॉमिस. सेकेंड पॉइंट में, सिंस द पेमेंट वाज फॉर पर्सनल नेचर, दैट्स व्हाई राजेश डिड नॉट डिडक्ट 194C देयर, बट ही विल डेफिनेटली डिडक्ट 194N. करेक्ट शंकर? But as a person, you don't have to see which year is applicable. This thing under section 206AB, practically take the PAN of the person, put in the name of the person in that utility which is there as per government. If his name comes, then he's a defaulter. If his name does not come, he's not a defaulter. Then you have to go as per the normal rates. ऐसा सेम प्रोविजन सेक्शन 206 अभी टीसीएस में भी पढ़ेंगे. Amrita, just 10 minutes and then we'll take the break. Last concept for TDS, then we'll take the break. If you will not deduct the tax, then 1 point, you will be assessed in default and penalty would be at the rate of 1.15%. Okay, guys, now we are at a stage जहाँ पे आप बोलो कि मैम If someone does not want that their tax should be deductible, someone does not want, please listen, ये छोटा सा है topic. Someone does not want to deduct tax, or someone does not want, since they do not have any other income, to basically the tax should be deducted because unnecessary. Suppose किसी का सिर्फ एफडी इंटरेस्ट है 70,000 का, but उसका total income is less than basic exemption limit, is not required to file the return, correct? So why should someone get tax deducted? 7,000 rupees ऐसे deduct कर लेंगे, so that is sort of hardship. So government understood those provisions and government got up with two sections. One is section 197, which is lower or no deduction of certificate, and one is section 197A. So section 197, which is lower or no deduction of tax, is not for everyone. It is only through AO. AO matlab assessing officer. Think yourself as deductee. Think yourself as deductee. I don't want my tax to be deducted. So I will go to AO. I will tell AO, ki Baba, I have so much of losses to set off. I do not have taxable income, etc., etc. So give me a certificate which I can give to the deductors, and they will not deduct the tax. So AO will see the facts, check your income, check the possibilities of income, etc., etc., and will issue a certificate. That certificate can contain any lower rate or nil rate. Suppose they write, for this person, the TDS would be deducted at 1.87% for all transaction. Whatever rate they come to, the rate can be in decimals. That is on AO to decide. Okay. So this is a certificate which the AO issues, and the certificate will have a validity also. That this is applicable on only for this year transaction or so on. And you can give that certificate to your prospective people, as in the deductor, that see, I have a certificate from AO. You cannot deduct tax more than this. Got it? Or you cannot deduct tax at all. So lower or no deduction. Second section, which is 197A, which works on self-declaration. यहाँ पे you give self-declaration to deductors. Wherever this section is applicable, you give self-declaration to deductors that I don't have taxable income. You don't have to deduct tax. Simple. It's a self-declaration where you will tell your PAN number, and if you're a non-filer, you cannot give this section declaration, but it is not for all sections. Self-declaration deductor को देना है, and he will not deduct tax at all. But for what sections? 192A, 193, 194A, D, DA, 194I, and 194K. So common ones are, if you think from the perspective of the sections which are covered here, the common ones are like rent, interest, वगैरह income, which generally happens to people who do not have any other incomes, and especially to people who are at an old age. ठीक है? So खाली in sections पे या PF withdrawal पे, if you see, only on these section 197A is applicable. I cannot go and apply for 197A to my employer. No, obviously he has all the information. That is practically not possible. Or for 194C, no. Self-declaration only happens under these sections. Now here, there are two possibilities. Carefully, listen carefully. People get confused a lot. How will this self-declaration work, guys? I have to give a declaration in form 15G or 15H. You can make this table. I'll give you the time also, but please focus on the screen now. 15G or 15H. 15G is for, or I should say 15H is for senior citizen, resident senior citizen. And 15G is for other than resident senior citizens. एक फॉर्म है which you can easily get at any portal, income tax portal पे easily you'll get. वहां पे you can give the information that I don't have an income, do not deduct the tax. ठीक है? But what is the difference between 15G and 15H? One such difference is 15H for senior citizen, 15G is for non-senior citizens resident. But there is one more very important difference. 15G is filed only by a person whose income for which he is filing Form 15G. Suppose I'm filing for interest. That income is less than basic exemption limit, obviously, and the entire income, as in the entire gross total income, is GTI is less than basic exemption limit. I've written gross total income. So even if suppose my gross total income is 4 lakhs and I have 80 SICA deduction of say 1,50,000, that means my net taxable income is nil. I cannot file Form 15G. Why? Because it says the gross total income is less than basic exemption limit, and obviously that income which is being earned, say for interest, I'm paying 15G. अगर interest मेरा 270 है, I cannot file 15G. Interest is less than basic exemption limit, and my gross total income is also less than basic exemption limit. Then only I can file 15G. But 15H के लिए there is a relaxation. 15H के लिए say that there is no tax liability. That is, tax payable is nil. No tax is payable. Then a resident senior can file 15H. So यहाँ पे 87A rebate would also be considered, deductions would also be considered. So in the same scenario where 15G is not applicable to be filed by a person of this category where the income was 4 lakh, but the deductions were there, but he was not able to file 15G, but 15H can be filed by a resident senior citizen in this situation. So दोनों में फर्क क्या है guys? Resident senior citizen के लिए it is कि your tax payment should be nil after 87A rebates and deductions, but should no other than not resident senior citizen के लिए that the income for which you're filing should be less than basic exemption limit and the gross total income should be less than or below basic exemption limit. If it is more than that, even if your net taxable income is below basic exemption limit, you cannot file 15G. Got it? Okay, so this is from my side. उसके अलावा there is if you will not deduct the tax, the TDS is at the rate of 1%. If you will not deposit the tax, the TDS is at the rate of 1.5% per month, and you would be called as SC in default. But if the deductee pays the tax, files the return, and give you a CA certificate, then you will not be called as SC in default. बस इसके अलावा everything is covered. Why I did not cover that topic in depth? Because 40A IMA, I suppose you have covered that as an exception. एक बारी quickly देख लो. You want to make this as a table? You can make it as a table. आगे did it go? And then this is thorough with our income tax after TDS after what? 2 classes of almost more than 3 hours. I'll take it as 7 hours and 2 hours today. So 9 hours of TDS only takes. TDS is so important and it is abhi pata still I have not covered a lot of illustration which I would have loved to. But I've tried to make it as practical as possible. कोई भी sections में doubt हो, you can ask after the break. Take the break quickly. Meanwhile, please make this illustration, make this flowchart. It is easier to understand this way. इतना time मत लगाना बाकी sections में पढ़ने में. And 15G is for other than resident senior citizen, because senior citizen he will go for 15H. If senior citizen nahi hai, if you're not a senior citizen, you will go for 15G. But you can only file 15G in that case when you have gross total income less than basic exemption limit, and the income which you're earning, obviously that is also less than basic exemption limit. So suppose I am filing for rent. If my rental income is 3 lakh, suppose, I cannot file 15G. But if I'm a resident senior citizen, I can file 15H. 15G क्यों नहीं फाइल कर सकते? Because that income is more than basic exemption limit. Even if my net taxable income is actually less than basic exemption limit, but I cannot file 15G provided till the time the income is less than basic exemption limit, then only I can file 15G, or the gross total income is less than basic exemption limit, then only I can file 15G. Okay. Hello guys, quickly go. It's almost dinner time. We'll be back after 10 minutes and we'll start TCS. Break लेके आना because TCS is totally opposite than TDS. So clarity would come only if you have a clear thoughts. See you after 10 minutes. Thank you. break. Now, for the next 1 hour, please be prepared, or maybe less. We'll start with TCS provision. First, quickly, 5 minutes briefing would be about what is TCS, why was it required, then all the TCS sections. Some of them are extremely important because the changes are there, the confusion is obviously there. So, let's start. And I hope the tedious journey is complete and over and clear. कोई भी doubt होगा, don't worry. We'll take it again at the end. So don't worry at all. Okay. Now, guys, when I say TCS, what do you understand by it? Obviously, it's tax collection at source. But why is it there? What is the mechanism? See, when I talk about TDS, except 194N, it is when you're making a payment to another person for its income, the certain amount is deducted while making the payment or at the time of credit, whichever is lower, as per those particular sections. Correct. But TCS may not necessarily involve income element. It is from a view of covering certain transactions which are not income related or might be income related but are not covered because of the limit. The limit. So now, if what is the TCS mechanism? Please note few points in relation to TCS. Here also you'll have two parties. One would be called collector and one would be called collectee. So collector, collectee, yaad kaise kare? Who collects the payment? In most of the cases, the seller or the other person, and who gives the payment is the other person. So the seller in most of the cases would come in the form of the collector, because he is responsible to collect payment and he will now collect additional amount. TCS is an additional amount over and above the amount which he is about to collect from the other party. From the other party. So the other party might be a small scale person, a large scale person, whatsoever is the case. But the TCS is collected from the other party. Now, in this case, B would be the other party who would from his own pocket would pay additional amount. Now suppose on this transaction of 1 lakh, TCS is applicable. So technically B would be paying 1 lakh rupees, correct? Along with that 1 lakh rupees, suppose A has sold good of 1 lakh, B would be collecting 1 lakh rupees. Along with that 1 lakh, B as per law, say suppose have to pay TCS at the rate of 1%. So he'll pay extra 1,000 from his pocket. A would collect 1 lakh and 1,000 rupees, obviously. Now it is A's responsibility as a collector to first collect the TCS at the correct time. It can be in this case at the time of receipt or at the time of receipt or due, whichever is earlier. As per those scenarios, okay? Deposit this TCS, file the return, and issue the TCS certificate. So all things goes something similar to the compliances go something similar to TDS. Here also, once you collect the tax, you have to deposit it by 7th of the month. You have to file the return quarterly, but only change in the due date is those returns are filed by 31st of the next month, basically by 31st of the next month of the quarter, falling after the quarter. This is to be filed by 15th of the next month. So instead of April to June, 31st July is quarter 1 date for TDS. Here, for April to June, 15th of July would be the TCS date. Okay, itna sa change hai bas. And obviously the certificate of TCS, that is tax collection at source, and deposited to the government on behalf of the collectee, because collectee is paying from his pocket extra amount and A would deposit that this 1,000 in the name of collectee. But why so? यहाँ पे at a stage of transaction happening itself, you are giving your share from your own pocket. उसमें क्या होता था TDS में deduct होके आपको मिलता था. इस stage में the person who will get the credit is paying additional from his pocket. Okay, so all the responsibilities on the seller, that is the collector. So this person has to obtain time. This person has to obtain TAN and do all this thing. Since he would be depositing this amount to the government on behalf of B, so hence B has to show his PAN to the collector so that he can while filing the return tell that this amount belongs to B. Okay. So in a way, A is not paying anything extra from his pocket. He's getting that extra amount and he's paying to the government on behalf of B. So यहाँ पे TCS credit would be for 1000 for B at the end of the year. Sale 1 lakh का हुआ है, purchase 1 lakh का हुआ है. This is TCS payable. The question like GST, you do not consider while doing TDS, but GST here you will in most of the transaction will consider while collecting TCS. That means suppose in this case, if the TCS was applicable and GST is also applicable and 18% GST is applicable, so the amount on which TCS would be collected is 1,18,000 ka 1%. 1,18,000 ka 1%. So 1,180 rupees would be collected. Okay. कोई doubt in the concept of TCS? It is not necessarily a concept that other person का income होगा, collector का income है वैसे तो, but he is doing it as a responsibility so that that financial transaction can be covered up. The reason can be maybe they want to know the status of the collectee, that he is doing such transaction, what he is doing of such transaction, etc., etc. So all the responsibility is on the collector. कोई doubt in the concept of TCS? So now, जैसे in TDS there were sections from 192 to 195 covering each type of payment, correct? There were sections 192 to 195 covering each type of payment. Here there is only one section which covers all the TCS into that particular section. That section is called 206C. Section 206C is a section which tells about the TCS. Section 206C is the section which tells about the provisions of TCS. यहाँ पे various subsection है. Subsection 1, subsection 1C, 1D, 1G, 1H ऐसे है. ठीक है? 1F ऐसे sections है which are covered here. Okay? So those section talks about different types of transactions which are covered under 206C. So instead of 192, 193, 194 जैसे अलग-अलग है for different payments and different transactions, यहाँ पे 206C, subsection 1, subsection 1F, 1G are here for different transactions. ठीक है? यहाँ पे भी guys make a same table, quick summary. Collector, collectee, rate, time of collection, not deduction, and threshold limit if any, and other points. Some way we will try to address these questions. So the first section is sale of certain goods. When sale of certain goods, TCS would be collected. TDS भूल जाना guys, तभी easily समझ आएगा. First section is 206C subsection 1. So this was the first section on which TCS was attracted. This section is on only certain goods. If there are certain goods, on those certain goods, TCS would be collected. So yani the seller of such goods would collect TCS. Seller of alcohol, seller of तेंदू लीव्स. तेंदू लीव्स मतलब बीड़ी का लीव्स, जो बीड़ी जिस में होती है वो वाली लीव्स. Timber, as in forest timber, from forest leaves, timber obtained by any other mode. So basically timber, forest produce या timber कह लो, ठीक है. Then scrap can be any scrap, metal scrap, whatever scrap, minerals, coal or lignite or iron ore. So most common I have seen in scrap, I've seen in alcohol, I've seen in forest produce. Rates हर एक के अलग अलग है, but they are all covered under section 206C. Alcohol के लिए 1%, तेंदू लीव्स के लिए 5%, स्क्रैप के लिए 1%, मिनरल के लिए 1% and timber and forest produce के लिए 2.5%. So I can say the rates are alcohol, scrap, iron ore, etc., 1%, 5% for tendu leaves. And because if you see, these are the transactions which happens at a smaller scale in the sense BD, the leaves are obtained by small people, or as in at a scale where government might not have a reach because these people might not be filing the return. So through this, they get the information of the transactions happening. Okay? So Tendu leaves, mineral and अदर रोल्स के लिए भी 1% हो गया सॉरी एंड फॉरेस्ट प्रोड्यूस के लिए 2.5%. ठीक है three rates are there. So now the question comes, who will collect it, who will pay? So the collector, who is the seller of such goods, will collect tax. Who would be the eligible seller? Any person except individual and HUF, same concept of TDS वाला जाएगा मतलब why so except individual and HF, and individual HF would be covered if in the preceding financial year, their turnover in case of business is more than 1 crore and gross receipts in case of profession is more than 1 crore. They will only be covered. The reason being, since again it's a compliance oriented task, TCS is compliance oriented task. So that's why only individual HUF who have more than requisite turnover, they are covered. If you don't have more than requisite turnover, you are not covered. Compliances किस पे है guys? But focus should be compliance किस पे? वहां पे deductor पे है, तभी individual HUF are excluded and are included only if they have more than turnovers. यहाँ पे collector पे है, that's why individual HUF are excluded, but are included if they have those requisite turnovers. Buyer can be any buyer, but but जिसमें आपको एक जगह नहीं मिलेगा. I'll give you it one place. ठीक है. Buyer can be any buyer, anyone. A small individual also, a small HF also, anyone. You have to collect TCS from them. You have to collect TCS from them if you are a person who has a business or a profession in the preceding financial year having those turnovers, or you're a company, firm, AOP, BOI, etc. Okay. Buyer can be any buyer except, except, except PSUs, central government, then your high commission and clubs, and a person who purchase good for personal consumption. So that's why all of you must be thinking that when we go and purchase alcohol, whether in restaurant, whether anywhere, we are not paying TCS, ma'am. The seller is not collecting from us. The reason is that you are an exempted buyer. Anyone who is buying such goods for personal consumption, that person is not covered. So you can relate it with your personal self and you can remember, personal consumption is not covered under 206C subsection 1. Either debit or receipt, whichever is earlier. Time of collection is debit or receipt, whichever is earlier. There is no threshold limit. No threshold limit. Okay, exception also clear. Now, यहाँ पे there is one such other provision. It's not exception of the buyer, but they say that if a person, if a person is buying those goods for further production, if a person is buying that goods for further production, and he is giving you declaration, he is giving you declaration under form 27C that these goods are bought for personal consumption, and this is the declaration that these goods which I'm buying, suppose I'm buying alcohol for making sanitizer. So I'm giving them a declaration that I'm buying alcohol for making sanitizer. Then in that case, they will not deduct the tax, provided I put my PAN on it, etc. So as a buyer, if I'm buying those products for further production and I give declaration, then they will not collect tax from me. Then they will not collect tax from me. But this is only when I self-declare it. So can I say, suppose wine, alcohol is taken for production of cough syrup or sanitizer, and the person gives the declaration, then TCS would not be collected. But suppose alcohol is bought for further sale, then TCS would be applicable. Suppose alcohol is bought for personal consumption, TCS by default is not applicable because it is for personal consumption. तीनों केस कवर हो गए. अल्कोहल का एग्जांपल लेके पूरा सेक्शन क्लियर हो गया. Time of collection, rate, threshold limit. There is no threshold limit. Even if you are selling for 100 rupees, you have to collect TCS. The rates are kept nominal so that people don't feel it as a burden. Scrap, guys, scrap का मतलब रद्दी नहीं होता, as in only paper scrap नहीं होता. Scrap is something which is a result of any manufacturing product or any mechanical process and cannot be used as such. That is called scrap. Okay. Now coming to next section. किसी को कोई doubt? Anyone has any doubt? Just for your confusion, you remember timber, the forest produce कुछ भी आया, it is 2.5%. वहां पे शायद फॉर्म में different sections होंगे, maybe because of that. Otherwise, you have to remember timber 5%, 2.5%. Okay. Next section in which TCS is collected is section 206C, subsection 1C. Subsection 1 was certain goods. 1C is for when you are collecting money for giving someone a license of parking lot, toll plaza, mine, or a quarry. You know that suppose if I have a parking space, it can be parking space in mall, it can be a parking space on a ground. So government let it out, give it to a person on lease or on license basis, and they give us the lease amount. As in, if I'm the government, I've given you a plot for parking. Okay, you can use this place for parking. You will give me the lease amount or the license amount, and then you will collect parking for other people. Okay, so the TCS is applicable between the transaction which is between you and me. That is the lessor or the lessee, the lessor and the lessee, or the licensor or the licensee, whichever way you want to talk. So here, who will collect the money? ये इतना important नहीं है, इसमें question भी इतना कम आता है, but quickly to give you an example, who will collect the money? The person who is granting the right, granting the lease. Who will collect? Who would be the collectee? The person who is lessee or licensee. Either be debit or receipt, whichever is earlier. इसमें बहुत कम केस होता है, question comes from parking lot. So just a quick 2 minutes on this. At the TCS has to be collected at the rate of 2% of that lease amount, which you will be paying to me. Okay. You will not collect TCS from any PSU in this case. Okay. Next section, you can mark a very important section, section 206C, subsection 1F. It's a very important section and a very common section also. No threshold limit in 1C also. Now 206C, 1F. Now coming forward, 1F, 1G, and 1H. These are the three sections which are left. And if you are feeling sleepy, if you're feeling hungry, guys, fatafat say, just focus here because these three sections have corresponding impacts. Corresponding impacts मतलब maybe 1F का 1H में है, 1H का TDS में है. So थोड़ा सा active हो जाओ guys अब. And these are the sections on which you are actually tested. So Namrata, section 206C subsection 1 says, exempted buyer, matlab you will not collect TCS from them if they are using it for personal consumption, if they are government, if there is a high commission, if it's a club, etc. Okay, you will get, but along with that, these are the persons who are by default not covered as a collecting. But if a person is someone who is buying that goods for further production, alcohol for sanitizer, or say scrap for making something more useful in a furnish, timber, say furniture bana rahe, anything. If they're buying those goods for production and give the declaration to the collector or the seller that we are using these goods for production, do not collect TCS, then they will not collect the TCS. But this is declaration based. This is not by default. By default is for personal consumption. But for further production, if you're using that good, you have to give the declaration that do not collect TCS from me. अपने आप को collector समझो, it would be more clear. Okay. So section 206C subsection 1F, sale of motor vehicles of value exceeding 10 lakhs. Sale of motor vehicles of value exceeding 10 lakhs. On the screen, guys, फिर से. Okay, so 1F is on when a motor vehicle is sold whose value is more than 10 lakh. So अब guys दो type का sale होता है. One is sale which is B2B and one is sale which is B2C. B2B मतलब Toyota is producing cars. Okay, they would be selling those cars to distributors or dealers. Okay, so that is called B2B. Bulk sale होता है, wholesale sale होता है. That is called B2B. Now that dealers, obviously, if you want to pick up a Toyota car or any Tata car or anything, you will not go to Toyota car factory. You will go to those dealers. You will go to those dealers to get that car. Dealers or distributors. Okay. So that is called B2C. Section 2061F is not applicable on B2B. It is applicable only on B2C. That means when Toyota is selling it to dealer, they will not collect tax from the dealer. But when dealer is selling it to the customer, they will collect tax as per section 206C 1F. Okay, clear? किस rate पे guys? 1% पे. 1% पे. When? At the time of receipt. मतलब, suppose I have purchased, I'll come to the example at the time of receipt from such buyer. So suppose Mr. A goes to the dealer, which is say A, B, C dealer. Okay, they go to the dealer to purchase a car. Okay, the car value should be more than 10 lakh. The value means the value including your everything, including GST, etc. The car value is more than 10 lakh, excluding RTO charges, बाकी सारे charges, road tax वगैरह सब कुछ. ठीक है? Then in that case, the dealer, while giving you the quotation, you will see they will add 1% as TCS automatically. They will add 1%. जहां पे कार का quotation 10 lakh से ऊपर जाएगा, they will add 1% TCS automatically. Now that car is second hand, first hand, doesn't matter. The sale transaction is 10 lakh or more. That is important. That is important. The moment it is 10 lakh or more, or I should say more than 10 lakhs, then TCS would be collected. Then TCS would be collected. So suppose I went to ABC dealer. ABC dealer ने क्या किया? They collected the TCS at the rate of 1%. Up, I told you the TCS has to be collected when the motor vehicle exceeds 10 lakh. Obviously, some amount you give as token money, some amount you give at the final stage. So token money के time पे they will collect 1% on that amount, and final stage पे they will collect 1%. Got it? TCS is on the entire sale consideration. I'm saying again and again, except RTO charges, GST भी include होगा. Got it, guys? अब वो motor vehicle first hand or second hand or does not matter. I am selling to another customer. Will I charge it? Yes, I would charge it if I'm the applicable collector or seller. So who would be the eligible collector here? Compliances किस पे है? Collector पे. So all except individual and HUF would be the eligible collector, and individual and HUF only if they have those turnover in the preceding financial year. So everyone except individual and HUF would be collecting the tax, but an individual and HUF would collect tax only if in the preceding financial year they have a turnover exceeding 1 crore in case of business and 50 lakhs in case of profession as gross receipts. ठीक है? Clear? Collecting कौन है? कोई भी. If I am a person who in the preceding year has a turnover of more than 1 crore, my business is not sale purchase of motor vehicle, but I'm selling it. C to C भी cover हो जाएगा, guys. I'm selling it to you as a second hand motor vehicle. I will collect if it is more than 10 lakhs. Okay, I will collect tax. I'm I am responsible to collect tax. Collector can be anyone except यहाँ पे भी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से अगर आप सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को कोई मोटर व्हीकल सेल कर रहे हो, यू विल नॉट कलेक्ट टैक्स फ्रॉम देम. सो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, एम्बेसी, हाई कमीशन, लोकल अथॉरिटीज, पीएसयू. High commissions, local authorities, PSU, if they are engaged in the business of carrying passengers, and obviously dealer of motor vehicles. ये सारा चीजें it's written at the end of the book, end of this particular section, but I prefer covering it in one go. ठीक है? क्लियर है? कोई डाउट? बट गाइस अब एक बात बता, सिंपल सा. आई एम मिस्टर ए, मैंने एबीसी डीलर से आई, अब जनरली टीडीएस में भी सी होल ऑफ द ईयर का लिमिट, बट यहाँ पे वी नॉट सी होल ऑफ द ईयर का लिमिट. यहाँ पे वी विल सी द लिमिट per transaction, that is per sale of the motor vehicle. Suppose I took car A, मैंने वैगनर लिया for 7 lakhs from ABC dealer. Then after 3 months again, I took another Wagoner from the same dealer for 8 lakhs rupees or 7.5 lakhs rupees. Will they collect TCS? The answer is no. Even if my sale with that dealer is more than 10 lakhs, as in my purchase with that dealer is more than 10 lakhs, they will not collect the TCS because it is, if one motor vehicle ka transaction, as in the value of motor vehicle exceeds 10 lakhs. Now the question comes, ठीक है, B2B में I told you as in dealer to dealer or manufacturer to dealer में 206C 1F would not be applicable. But guys, एक section पढ़ा था हमने 194Q. So if buyer in this case is a person who in the preceding year has a turnover of more than 10 crore and seller के साथ उसका 50 लाख से ज्यादा का transaction हो रहा है, तो they can deduct tax. They can definitely deduct tax. See, transaction versus transaction, you have to see the applicability. If one is not getting applied, whether second is getting applied or not. और एक और section आएगा which we'll see 206C1H, that can also apply here. So either of those sections can apply here on B2B. और एक और चीज guys, whenever there is a specific section, so first you will check the applicability in specific section. If specific section where applicability is not covered, then only you will go to the general section. ठीक है? अब since specific section is there for motor vehicle sale to customer, then you will cover it under 1F. If it is not covered under 1F, then you will see whether it is covered under 194Q or 260 1H and so on. Okay. तो जो लोन डिस्बर्स करते हैं उसके भी कोटेशन में everything is included. 10 lakhs में GST include होगा, only RTO charges are not covered. Whenever you go to purchase a car, there's X showroom price, then there are hundred of taxes in the sense of road tax, this value, this accessory value. Everything is included except RTO charges. GST also. To Wagoner purchase in a single transaction, so it does not make sense. Or motor vehicle if the value is more than 10 lakhs. Ines, where is it written, guys? So 1F is extremely important, and I hope you got it. Now we'll move to 1G. Mark this as the section of the year. If the award can go to section 1G, it should be the section of the year. इतने सारे चेंजेस आए एक्ट बजट में चेंज आए एक्ट पास पे चेंज आए जुलाई में चेंज आए मतलब देर आर सो मेनी चेंजेस इन दिस सेक्शन दिस इज लिटरली सेक्शन ऑफ द ईयर एंड again very important section so if again anyone is lost come back इंश्योरेंस हाँ सारे चार्जेस इंश्योरेंस जनरली अदरवाइज पे होती है अगर वो कोटेशन में इंक्लूडेड है डेफिनेटली INS very nice वाह oh okay guys okay प्लीज ये वाला सेक्शन समझते टाइम भी डू नॉट जस्ट फोकस ऑन द स्क्रीन फोकस हियर हैक ही हो गया पढ़ाने से पहले so this section we will learn in two part 206C 1G part A and 206C 1G part B बुक में दोनों तरीके एक ही तरीके से दिया हुआ है we'll do 1A and 1B okay so if you have ever studied FEMA you must have studied LRS पहले हम करेंगे ये टाइम पे this thing has happened very nice you must have studied about LRS okay so section 206C 1G part A covers LRS remittance LRS मतलब liberalized remittance scheme so this is a scheme not as per income tax but as per FEMA where they say that you can easily transfer 250,000 USD during a year for certain capital and current transactions. Okay, these transactions can be anything. Maybe you're sending money to a child, maybe you are buying shares, maybe you are buying any house outside India. Matlab, you can send money outside India through the remittance scheme, which is liberalized. And the scheme is as per FEMA. If you want to spend more than 250,000 USD during the year, USD मतलब खाली यूएस में नहीं जा रहा 250,000 डॉलर is the limit set by RBI per year for any person to sell to make a transaction in foreign exchange for them that limit is there maybe you can use that foreign exchange for traveling outside India maybe you can use foreign exchange for sending some remittance amount to your children maybe you can use that foreign exchange for going outside India and studying or for medical treatment or for buying house or for buying shares कोई भी कहीं पे भी किसी भी कंट्री में लीगल तरीके से इफ यू आर स्पेंडिंग एन अमाउंट अंडर LRS you don't need RBI का approval whenever you go to any you will not send an amount by yourself either you will go to any money transfer as in Western Union money transfers like people or you will go to bank to send the money correct so you fill the form which is as per LRS what is the amount you are sending and what is the purpose for which you are sending this amount and to which account you want to transfer the amount okay so that is LRS abhi nothing is related to TCS when a person is sending an amount outside India, who would be the collector? I cannot, I don't go to border and give money to the people, right? Either it has gone through bank or through authorized dealer. So the collector is obviously the authorized dealer or bank. Okay. And collectee is the person who is sending that money, who is making that remittance. who is making that remittance. Huh? What is the TCS rate and who will collect the TCS is clear, the person who is making the remittance. What is the TCS rate and what is the time of collection? This is the main two things which you have to see. Time of collection is debit or receipt, whichever is earlier. रेमिटेंस एनी पर्सन, अब वो बायर ऑफ फॉरेन एक्सचेंज होता है, ठीक है. सो एनी पर्सन एक्सेप्ट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से कोई टीसीएस नहीं कलेक्ट करेगा. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, एम्बेसी, इफ दे आर सेंडिंग मनी अब्रॉड, हाई कमीशन एंड लोकल अथॉरिटीज, दे आर एक्सक्लूडेड. ओके. नाउ what is the impact here and what are the rates and what are the transactions? So guys, LRS में if you are sending money up to 7 lakhs, no TCS is collected. मतलब LRS scheme में if I'm sending money up to 7 lakhs, no one will collect the TCS. The moment my LRS limit, as in the moment my remittance under LRS crosses 7 lakh, TCS would be collected. TCS would be collected. The TCS would be collected depends upon the purpose. Depends upon the purpose. पहले up to 7 lakh guys, no TCS is to be collected. तो मतलब अब वो मैं रेमिटेंस 7 लाख किसी भी चीज के लिए कर रही हूँ. मे बी आई एम सेंडिंग दैट 7 lakhs to my child. Maybe I'm sending that 7 lakhs for medical treatment. Maybe I'm sending that 7 lakhs for purchasing a house. Up to purchasing a house, for purchasing shares, up to 7 lakh, no TCS would be collected. ठीक है. क्योंकि एक चीज you have to make it clear in your mind, any remittance which is going abroad is going through LRS, is going under LRS, or any foreign exchange which is happening under the scheme of LRS. So up to 7 lakh, there is no limit, no TCS. But post 7 lakh, what will happen? TCS would be collected, and that would depend upon the purpose of remittance. That would depend upon the purpose of remittance. So if the amount of remittance is from a loan obtained, for education purpose. Is from a loan obtained for education purpose. एक minute, गलत time से हमेशा the thing works. Forget it. If the amount for remittance is for the loan obtained for education purpose. मतलब I wanted to go Harvard. I took the loan for education purpose, and now obviously I have to give that loan to the university because I've taken the loan from them. So if the amount is obtained for from the loan and that is being sold for education purpose, मैंने लोन लिया इंडिया में, अब वो मेरे को यूनिवर्सिटी में ट्रांसफर करना है. So the amount of remittance is happening from the loan taken for education purpose. Then up to 7 lakhs तो कुछ नहीं है. 7 lakh के बाद 0.5% of TCS would be collected from the remittance which is happening from the loan. From the remittance which is happening from the loan. कोई doubt guys? Okay. Then if the remittance is for education or medical treatment, if the purpose is education or medical treatment, then TCS post 7 lakh would be collected at the rate of 5%. At the rate of 5%. And all these amounts are applicable when you cross 7 lakh limit, and TCS is collected of the amount in excess of 7 lakhs. I'll give you an example, don't worry. 5% on excess. एजुकेशन और मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट के लिए अगर कोई हो रहा है तो 5%, लोन से कुछ हो रहा है तो 0.5%. ठीक है, सॉर्टेड. 5% ऑन एक्सेस. अब आप बोलोगे कि मैम फर्स्ट और सेकंड में फर्क क्या है? First is also for education, second is also for education. No. First is that you have taken a loan from bank or from any person, and then you are sending that loan for education, that money abroad. So जो money बाहर जा रहा है is from the loan amount. Second is that suppose जैसे my child is say studying abroad. So what I have taken loan from some bank for Harvard fees. ठीक है, उसके अलावा I might be sending him money for his education, maybe for his coaching or tuition or maybe for his expense. So जो education के लिए पैसा जा रहा है except the loan amount, उस पे TCS would be collected on 5% on excess of 7 lakhs. और ये अलग अलग लिमिट नहीं है. I'll show you how. And next part is other purpose. Other purpose guys, other purpose यानी education and medical treatment के अलावा कोई भी purpose. For example, if I'm sending money to purchase shares. For example, I'm sending money to purchase house. For example, I'm sending money as a gift to someone. For example, I'm sending maintenance charges to my children. For example, I'm sending any money, even for the purpose of foreign exchange. Any money if I'm sending abroad for other purpose, वहां पे क्या होगा? वहां पे देर आर टू रेट्स. इफ दैट मनी इज सेंड बिफोर 1 October 23, so you see the limit and the date is so recent, just October 23. ठीक है, और इफ इट इज सेंड आफ्टर October 23, एग्जाम्पल करेंगे सब समझ आएगा. फोकस. If it is sent before October 23 and is in excess of 7 lakh, then 5% would be charged. If it is sent after 1 October 2023 and the LRS limit of 7 lakhs has crossed, then 20% of excess. ठीक है. अब आप बोलोगे मैम नहीं समझ आया. ऑब्वियसली ये किसी को भी समझने के लिए थोड़ा सा टाइम लगेगा. गाइस, आई हैव अ पूल. ठीक है, आई हैव अ पूल ऑफ 7 lakhs. अप टू 7 lakhs में वॉट एवर पर्पज के लिए आई एम सेंडिंग, no TCS would be collected. The moment I cross that limit of 7 lakhs, then I have to see the purpose. Acha, loan se I'm sending the amount, 0.5% have to be collected on excess. So suppose total remittance has happened of 8 lakhs. So first 7 lakhs loan se gaya, ठीक है. Remaining 1 lakh जो गया from the loan, उस पे 0.5% TCS would be collected. Okay, fair enough. Then if the money is for education or medical treatment, अगेन LRS में 7 lakhs अगर यूज हो गया, उसके अलावा वट एवर इज बीइंग सेंड would be obviously in excess of 7 lakhs, so 5% would be collected. Then other purposes पे आते हैं. Other purposes, suppose I have been selling, I want to send the money for purchasing shares. My 7 lakh limit is exhausted because of the loan remittance. The 7 lakh limit is exhausted. Now I have to send money for purchase of shares. 7 lakh limit is already exhausted. So if it is sent before 1 October 2023, the person would collect extra amount of 5% on excess amount. So, and if it is sent after 1 October 2023, the person would collect extra of 20% amount on the excess of 7 lakh. So, ये 7 lakh का किटी किसी भी वजह से भर रही है, it does not matter. Once this 7 lakh kitty is completed, finished, utilized, keep it apart. उसके बाद whatsoever transaction is happening in LRS would be either chargeable at 0.5% or 5% or 20%. 0.5% if it is for loan treatment, 5% is for loan treatment. 0.5% if it is from loan remittance, 5% if is for education or medical treatment purpose, 5% if it's for other purpose but before 1 October 2023, 20% if it's for any other purpose. ठीक है. 7 lakhs जैसे ही यूटिलाइज हुए, on every excess 0.55 या 5% 20% would charge. अब वो 7 lakhs किसी भी वजह से यूटिलाइज हो सकते हैं. मे बी it's on first come first serve basis. First 7 lakhs which have been sent through the year to the sent in the year for any purpose that would be considered. Now, for example, if I give you the list, you have to tell me what is the TCS amount here. Carefully, just see. Okay, 2 lakhs sent outside for shares purchase. ठीक है, 50,000 sent outside for purchase of Amazon US. ठीक है, 1,50,000 sent outside for medical treatment. And these are all date wise. This happened in April, this happened in May, this happened in June. Okay. Now July, August, and September, October, November. अब देखना सीखना ध्यान से, ठीक है. 2nd of April, 2nd of May ऐसी dates ले लेना. Now, 1 lakh was sent again for purchase of shares. Then 2,50,000 was sent for education from loan. Okay, from loan. Then 50,000 again for shares. Writing आ रही इंटरनेट की वजह से every time this problem happens. Sorry. Again for shares. Then 30,000. Bikini now. 1 second, guys. I'm not writing anything, don't worry. $50,000 is for shares. Then 30,000 is for say gold jewelry मैंने दुबई से, ठीक है. And then 120 is for medical treatment. Okay, now how would TCS would apply? First of all, I have to see my 7 lakhs limit is crossing when? Cumulative करूं? So 2 lakh pay plus 5 lakh plus 1.5. Sorry, 2,50,000 though, sorry. 2 lakh plus 50,000 plus 1.5 plus 1 plus 250. इस ट्रांजैक्शन पे जाके the 7 lakh limit is crossing. ठीक है, correct? So in transactions पे no TCS would be collected because it is up to 7 lakh. Okay. Now in transaction पे the moment it crossed 7 lakh, TCS would be collected on excess amount. So on excess, which यहाँ पे with this transaction, the LRS limit crosses 7 lakh, it comes to 7.5 lakhs. So here the TCS would be collected on 50,000 at the rate of 5%. Correct? क्योंकि it is from education from loan, तो उसके लिए TCS is 0.5%. Next, 50,000 for shares. So यहाँ पे it's happening before October. So at the rate of 5% for shares. ठीक है? Then 30,000 is for gold, but it is happening in October. So here the TCS would be collected at the rate of 20%, guys, on 30,000. Because the limit is 20,000, 20% for any other purpose. Next, 120 is for medical treatment. So here 5% on 120. So this is the how this LRS thing has to be considered. Again, this example is difficult to find. You can note it and you can make an understanding of it. To give you a summary of LRS, it is basically a scheme which is as per my FEMA, where a person can freely transfer 2,50,000 US dollar to FEMA Limited. How does it impact an income tax? Income tax says that whenever you are transferring, this is except. So whenever you're transferring any money through LRS, TCS would be collected if it is more than in excess of 7 lakhs. In excess of 7 lakhs है तो 0.5% if it is for loan, it is if it is from a loan remittance, 5% if it's for education and medical treatment, and 5% if it's for other purpose if before 1st October 2023. If for other purpose after 1st October 2023 or on or after 1st October 2023, then 20%. And this is the case which you can see. ये guys example कहीं पे भी नहीं है, so that's why we have made it and try to understand. अब कोई confusion I hope नहीं होना चाहिए from this example. You want to take screenshot of it, you want to note it, please. किसी को कोई doubt? Very good, Manish. Very, very good. So this is the first part which is covered under my 206C subsection 1G. What is the second part? Second part is guys 206C 1G part B, which is overseas store program. OTPs. Sale of overseas tour package OTP कह लो या overseas tour program कह लो OTP कह लो ठीक है overseas tour program OTP. So this is the term is overseas tour program, overseas tour package or program, whatever you want to say. Now since the word package is used, please ignore the handwriting. Package का मतलब क्या होता है? Whenever you're going outside India. See, first of all, this is only when a person is selling an OTP to you. अब you will say कि selling an OTP मतलब if I want to go abroad, maybe I book a package for myself. ठीक है? That person who is to whom I'll be giving money for that package, that person is selling that package and purchasing that package. So who will collect the money? Person who is making the sale of that package. The seller of OTP would be the collector in 1B. Okay? इसमें नेसेसरी नहीं है कि फॉरेन रेमिटेंस हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा. इसमें 1B में the sale of OTP is happening to the seller. Who would be the collecting? Any buyer of OTP. As in, if I purchase a package, then I am the collecting. Who would be the person from whom the tax would be collected? The buyer of the OTP, except central government, state government, local authorities, high commission, etc. Okay. Now, the question is, how much TCS has to be collected? How much TCS has to be collected? Now, यहाँ पे भी interesting thing है. Please focus here. Correct? Okay. So now before going to the limit, overseas tour packages. So first of all, this is clear that this is only for overseas tour package, not for domestic package. Okay? This is one of the initiative for the government to promote domestic sale of packages. Second, package. Package. Not, if I want to go outside, I book flights separately. I book room separately. I'm booking other things separately. That is not a package. Package is something which is with accommodation and one more element maybe of traveling and etc. That is package. Okay. So if there is a package, then only this would be covered. ठीक है? Only flights booking हो रही है, 1 GB नहीं लगेगा. Okay. So now the buyer would pay, or I would say the seller would collect TCS at the rate which are defined here. If the sale happens before 1st October 2023, then there is separate rate. If the sales happen after 1st October 2023, then there is separate rate. Because the change has come abhi, as my notepad is not supporting, please don't think I'm writing wrong, huh? So if it happens before 1st October 2023, so they would collect TCS at the rate of 5%, at the rate of 5% without threshold limit. And if I've taken a package of say 1 lakh, they will collect TCS at 5,000 from me. No limit. No limit. Okay. But if it is happening after 1st October 2023, then 5% up to 7 lakhs, 5% up to 7 lakhs ka package, and or I should say 5% for first 7 lakhs and 20% in excess of 7 lakhs. 20% in excess of 7 lakhs. So can I say overseas tour package पे हमेशा TCS लगेगा, but अगर तो my notepad is very bad, yeah, it works on the time it is required. Anyway, okay, so now listen here, focus. 5% on no limit, मतलब हमेशा 5% तो था ही. So suppose I'm going to Dubai, or I'm going to say New York. I have booked a package of 10 lakhs, but it was booked in June 2023. How much TCS would be collected? 10 lakhs पे how much TCS would be collected, guys? Please focus, 50,000 rupees. Okay? ठीक है? Irrespective of the limit, 5% करना ही है. दुबई गई जून 2023 में 3 लाख रुपीज का पैकेज बुक किया. ये एलआरएस से डिफरेंट है. इसमें ये नहीं है कि फर्स्ट 7 लाख एग्जॉस्ट हुआ. दिस इज सेपरेट सेक्शन. एलआरएस इज सेपरेट. ठीक है. दुबई गई 3 लाख का पैकेज लिया था इन द मंथ ऑफ जून 2023. 5% टीसीएस लगेगा. ठीक है. अब सपोज करो, फॉरगेट इट. अब मैंने 10 लाख का पैकेज लिया इन today. Suppose I purchase 10 lakhs a package today for New Year. What will happen? On the first 7 lakhs, they will collect 5%. On the first 7 lakhs, they will collect 5%. So 7 lakh pe 5% would be 35,000. And on the remaining 3 lakh, they will collect 20% from me, which is 60,000. So if I have to go abroad and I have to spend 10 lakh rupees, 95,000 I have to give from my own pocket as TCS, which I may get as refund, etc. But it is going from my pocket right now. It is going from my pocket. ठीक है? Because government is saying, भाई इंडिया में खर्चा करो ना, no need to give TCS. This is how overseas tour package would happen. Got it? कोई डाउट? अब गाइस प्लीज, अगर कोई इंडियन सेलर होगा तभी ही विल कलेक्ट टीसीएस. अगर कोई फॉरेन सेलर होगा, ही इज नॉट लायबल टू कलेक्ट टीसीएस. ही इज नॉट लायबल टू कलेक्ट टीसीएस. वो इंडियन प्रोविजंस में ही कवर्ड नहीं है. He will not collect TCS. Yes, but it can happen. I will be covered in LRS for any other purpose in that case. Okay? I'll be covered in LRS for any other purpose in that case. Got it? Very heavy, very important section. Clear? इस पे FAQs भी आए थे गवर्नमेंट के गाइडलाइंस के थ्रू, एंड वी हैव ट्राइड टू कवर देम ऑल. टी. So if you have any doubt, please ask. एक बारी ध्यान से you can take the summary out of it. कोई भी doubt है, please ask. The limit is per package, guys. इसमें सीबीडीटी की बहुत लेटेस्ट क्लैरिफिकेशन भी है. So please make sure that you read them. Total amount a seller receives from the buyer for the overseas program. Per seller, per buyer. थैंक यू प्रेरणा. बस इसमें आई नो मेरे नोटपैड की वजह से थोड़ा सा डिले हो गया, बट प्लीज नोट दीज एग्जांपल्स. ट्रस्ट मी गाइस, ये कहीं नहीं मिलेंगे. एंड these are very, very, very important things. These flow charts are very important. वन ए को अलग पढ़ोगे, वन बी को अलग पढ़ोगे. ठीक है. गॉट इट गाइस? कोई डाउट? थोड़ा सा बस. Last and very important and very simple section. Section 2061H. बहुत सिंपल है, बहुत जल्दी होगा because you guys know about it already. So section 206C1H talks about last section which is sale of goods पे thesis. अब आप बोलोगे कि मैम ये तो कहीं हमने पढ़ा है, वेयर वी हैव स्टडीड, याद नहीं आ रहा. यस, पढ़ा था. परचेज ऑफ गुड्स पे टीडीएस 194 क्यू में. सो हियर अगेन सेल ऑफ गुड्स पे सेक्शन 206C1H इज एप्लीकेबल. तो अगेन यहाँ पे seller and buyer. Who would be the seller? Who would be the buyer? That we have to see. Seller again it would be any person. Here you have to remember whose turnover during the previous year. Turnover during the previous year is more than 10 crore in the preceding financial year, I should write. more than 10 crores, वहां पे बायर के लिए लिमिट था, यहाँ पे सेलर के लिए दैट लिमिट इज, ठीक है। एंड बायर के केस में ऑब्वियसली द एलिजिबल बायर जिससे द सेल इज हैपनिंग फॉर the aggregate sale consideration is happening for more than 50 lakhs. सारा हैंडराइटिंग की कंफ्यूजन कर रहा है, आई एम सो सॉरी. Maybe this is also exhausted. Aggregate sale consideration is more than 50 lakhs. I think I have to stop share the file तभी शायद सही चले. So sorry यार. नहीं चल रही. Forget it. So the buyer would be the person जहाँ पे aggregate sale consideration from that buyer is more than 50 lakhs. So that person would be the collectee. That person would be the collectee. Collected would be the person इसका preceding financial year में turnover is more than 10 crores. ठीक है? Here the rate is same, 0.1% in excess of 50 lakhs. Guys, यहाँ पे एक word आपको focus करना है. That is the word consideration. Point यहाँ पे वहां पे we used to see the word was where the value of goods sold is 50 lakhs, ठीक है, and we used to take the amount without GST. But TCS में while starting I told you TCS is all about including GST in all of the transactions. So यहाँ पे they talk about the consideration which is on the basis of actual receipt, because here the tax is collected at the time of receipt, at the time of receipt. यहाँ पे डेबिट और पेमेंट विच एवर अर्लियर नहीं है, एट द टाइम ऑफ रिसीट है. रिसीविंग और डेबिट विच एवर अर्लियर नहीं एट द टाइम ऑफ रिसीट. सो यहाँ पे द टैक्स वुड बी कलेक्टेड फ्रॉम द कंसिडरेशन अमाउंट. सो कंसिडरेशन वुड ऑलवेज बी इंक्लूडिंग जीएसटी. The tax shall be collected on the consideration in excess of 50 lakhs during the year. Per seller, per buyer limit. I may be selling the goods to different buyers for a value of 30 lakhs. Unpe nahi. Per buyer, if the limit is more than 50 lakhs, then I have to collect the TCS. Now the question is, ma'am, same question ऐसे भी तो है. Suppose buyer का turnover is more than 10 crores and seller का turnover is more than 10 crores, then what will happen? So if buyer is, अब दोनों के बीच में transaction is 50 lakhs से above, buyer is also more than 10 crores, seller is also more than 10 crores. That is 194Q and 206C, 1H. All are applicable at the same, as in both are applicable at the same time. What you will do? First, it would be buyer's responsibility to deduct tax. But if he does not deduct tax, then the seller can. But dono would not be applicable, as in buyer is also deducting at the time of making the payment and seller is also collecting from buyer at the time of collecting the payment. No. Mutually, they would decide कि भाई आपका भी turnover more than 10 crore है, मेरा भी. My turnover is also more than 10 crore. You are also. By logic, first it is your responsibility to deduct tax. If he forgets, if he does not deduct it, then the seller has to collect it. If both the section gets applied, the seller has to collect it. See, three things can be here. Where दोनों parties में transaction is happening for more than 50 lakhs. First case would be seller का preceding year turnover is more than 10 crore. Buyer का preceding year turnover is less than 10 crore. Then 206C, 1H would come. Second case की भी transaction is more than 50 lakhs between two parties. One is seller, one is buyer. But seller का turnover is less than 10 crore. Buyer का preceding year का turnover is more than 10 crore. Then 194Q would be applicable. Problem would be when दोनों का turnover is more than 10 crores. The buyer would collect. If buyer will not, buyer would deduct. If buyer would not deduct, then seller will collect. ठीक है? So दोनों situations you have to compare accordingly. So यहाँ पे guys ये हो सकता है suppose 206C 1F की बात करें. How can that be overlapping here? Guys, how can that be overlapping here? अब 1F में क्या होता है? There is B2B. B2B में yes, Toyota is the seller, dealer are the buyers. Toyota ka sale obviously is more than 10 crores. Okay, so they can collect TCS from the buyer on those sales under 2060 1H. 1F is not applicable, but under 2060 1H. B2C maybe मैं समझाती हूँ how can 2060 1H can come. See, the limit is 10 lakh per motor vehicle. Okay, 10 lakh per motor vehicle. Up suppose I have brought 10 Wagoners from a person, 10 Wagoners from a person, each value 7 lakhs. So 70 lakhs का transaction हो गया between buyer and seller. Now, obviously, seller is the dealer. He might have a turnover of more than 10 crore. He can collect tax under 206C 1H. 1H may I'm not falling because per motor vehicle it is less than 10 lakhs. But 1H may I can fall if during the financial year the transaction is more than 50 lakhs. Got it? So overlapping can happen. Overlapping can easily happen. इसमें एक exceptions है कि fuel supply to non-resident airlines and airports in India would not be covered here. Mm. Last important section 194O and 2061H. दोनों में से अब 194O is between e-commerce participant and e-commerce operator. And 2061H is between seller and buyer. Okay. Now suppose the seller, as in the participant, has a turnover of more than 10 crore. Okay. Now he will say a 194O is applicable where Amazon has to deduct tax. But यहाँ पे seller would say 2061H में I have to collect tax because my turnover is more than 10 crore. Our transaction has crossed more than 50 lakhs. So in that case, again, दोनों में से एक applicable होगा. But 194O definitely applicable होगा. Because 194O का rate is 5% and that too on the entire amount. Whereas 2061H का rate is 0.1% and that too only on excess. So there in that case 194 हो तो पक्का applicable होगा ही होगा. 194Q and 2061H के comparison में the thing is either of them can apply. But 194O and 2061H के comparison में is that O has to apply. There is no chance of going on because the rates are higher there. The rates are higher. वहां पे the seller cannot say कि I have collected tax so no need to deduct it. No. Deduction has to happen. Okay, guys. So this is from my side in respect to TCS, and I would have said the chapter name as deduction and collection of tax only because recovery पे हम पहुंचे नहीं. I would love to teach recovery also if I get any class, but this is all from my side. TCS के time limit is same as TDS of deposits. Return का we have discussed. If you will not file the TCS return, there is penalty and fees also. Fees is 200 per day for every day of default and under section 234E, and penalty is 10,000 to 1 lakh after 1 year under 271H. ठीक है, वो एक बारी penalty go through कर लेना. This is the maximum I could do. I hope you guys can forgive me if there was any delay from my side, and I'm so sorry for this tablet problem. Please ask the question. कहीं पे भी कंफ्यूजन है प्लीज आस्क. नम्रता, यहाँ पे 50 lakhs is per annum का लिमिट, नॉट पर ट्रांजैक्शन का लिमिट. Per transaction limit is applicable only in case of 206C 1F, which is a motor vehicle. Guys, I'm here. Don't worry, I'm not rushing. Let me know if there is any concern. कोई पॉइंट दोबारा करना है? Anything has to be taught again. Anything has is still not clear. Trust me, more than 80% of the exam related things have been covered. In any way, do not skip 194 BA, do not skip 206C 1G, do not skip 1H, 194Q, 194O, and non TDS sections. These are all very important for all of you. Non TDS as in non TAN sections. Yes, Prerna, कोई और डाउट है गाइस किसी को? In no way I cannot teach more, in no way you cannot absorb more. So if you have any doubt, please let me know. So if there's no doubt, you may leave. If there's doubt, you can ask. Drop in your feedbacks. All the best for all of you. All the best to all of you for the new year to come. I hope the next year you have CA tag with you. God bless you all. Okay. So shall I consider the class to be over? Okay. Thank you.